Happy Wine
Cheers!
Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday! How's it going?
Great.
Yeah?
What's today? It's a special day.
This is a really special show today, the special edition of Carl's Wine Club Wednesday Wine Happy Hour. Today, we're doing a cross-country harvest report. So cheers to that, Mira Boucher. We
Cheers,
have
Bobby.
winemakers and vignerons from all over the country today. And sorry, I just had a sip of really bright and zippy rosé, and my mouth is watering. Wow, I love that.
Okay, you're right. I need to go with the rosé first. So what is this? A Black Hills
You got
rosé.
Black Hills Estate rosé. So yeah. Oh wow, that's a
2021.
nice zing. It's really, really awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, really special edition of the Harvest Report 2022 today. We host winemaker and vigneron from Nova Scotia, from like one from Oliver, one from Osoyoos. We have Niagara Escarpment. We have Niagara on the Lake. We have Prince Edward County. We have Naramata Bench. We have winemakers from all over the country. They're going to talk about challenges, reward, and all of the small details of the 2022 vintage report. So for the first time ever, from the first time in 3 years, we've been thinking about that every single year. There's a bunch of harvest report been produced every year, and we say, what do we do best, Mira? What we do best? We do lives. That's what we do, because we like to bring live into our life. So that's what we do. We're bringing a live harvest report for everyone today. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one thing to read an article, but it's another to kind of meet all the people who are doing it and see the emotion behind what they're saying, and get all the insider little tips about what you can expect with your wines next year or the year after or 10 years from now.
Exactly. No, that's absolutely it. Like, which kind of which kind of condition each and every region got. Yeah, exactly what you mean. Like, I can read a text, I can read a freaking article, but listening from the horse's mouth, listening from the people who harvest the grapes right live, it's a completely different thing. So I'm super thrilled. We've been talking about that for a while, and here we go. We got a bunch of guests coming in tonight. Some of our guests couldn't make it tonight, but you know what we've done? We did a couple of pre-recorded interviews yesterday, over the weekend, this afternoon. So we want to welcome everyone across the country. Now I'm seeing people popping up from Calgary, from Ontario. I want to say welcome to everyone, all of our Carl's Wine Club members, all of our Canadian wine lovers. We're going to go live also on a bunch of different wineries Facebook page today. So it's not only on Carl's Wine Club channels, not only on our LinkedIn, not only on YouTube, but it's going to be broadcast on a bunch of different Facebook pages. So to all of our winery invited, I want to say a big shout out to Domaine des Grands Prés in Nova Scotia. Jorg is going to join me in a few minute times to start with him, but Suan staff's going to be with us. Marco Piccoli, the brand new cool project on the block in Ontario, the Niagara Custom Crush Studio, and his winemaker Marco Piccoli is gonna be with us a little later on. We also have Elia Sanchuk, who's gonna join us. We have Melissa Smith from Intersection. Send me a quick note this afternoon. She's gonna jump in later on tonight. I have Rob Amersley from Black Market Wine Company, the legend Richard Da Silva, who's going to join us as well, pre-recorded. Richard is on the road right now on its way to Vancouver. But I'm not sure. I'm probably missing a few here and there, but it's going to be a busy night. Oh, yeah. Melissa Mushadre, one of my favorite person in the industry. Melissa's going to join us. So
is Suan coming? Did you say
Suan's,
Suan?
yeah,
Yeah,
Suan's going to be
sorry.
one of the first. I already mentioned. I cannot forget Suan. Come on.
I
She's a
know.
freaking legend as well.
And
So it's
you
going
know
to be
what? We
awesome.
got to say something too. We are actually live straight on the De Silva website, the Suan staff website, and also on the Niagara Crush Custom Crush Studio website. So thanks you
So
guys for
to
hosting.
all of you Canadian wine lovers across the country, we want to say good evening. It's here. It's 5:05 in Summerland, BC. It's 8 o'clock Eastern Time Zone. Je veux dire un beau bonjour en France. Oh, Mira, you have something to say?
I was going to say the reason why the people from Nova Scotia are joining us first, though, because I think they're 4 hours ahead.
I
So it's like
know, I
9 there.
know. Jorg is like, yeah, he's like, come on, Carl, get me in so I can go to bed. We're busy around here. But just before we bring Nova Scotia people on for the first interview, I want to say a little word in French. Un beau bonjour à tout notre monde en français. Ce soir, on a un show assez spécial. On fait le report, le compte rendu de la saison 2022. Le compte rendu de la vendange 2022, le résultat qu'on peut espérer, les qualités de chacun des raisins qui poussent dans certaines régions. Donc, on a un paquet d'entrevues avec des gens de la Nouvelle-Écosse, des gens de l'île de Vancouver, des gens d'Okanagan, des producteurs de l'Ontario, de partout au pays. Donc, on va avoir un show super intéressant. J'ai du monde de partout. Donc, on va parler des conditions météorologiques, des conditions de récolte et puis du potentiel des raisins de l'année 2022. Pourquoi, comment, beaucoup de raisins, un petit peu plus de petites récoltes. On a un pays qui est grand, qui est vaste. Les conditions sont complètement différentes pour différentes raisons. Donc, on va toucher à chaque petite région une par une. Fait qu'un beau bonjour à Pierre Nollet à Québec, ensuite à Simon, à Jean-Denis, tous nos membres francophones de la belle province de Québec, les gens du Nouveau-Brunswick, du Manitoba, nos amateurs de vin canadiens francophones. On vous adore, on est content de vous avoir avec nous autres. Laissez-nous savoir si vous avez des questions en français. Laissez-nous savoir sur sur le chat en français. Je vais vous répondre en français. On peut poser vos questions à nos winemakers. Mira Boucher, I had an exciting show. I need to slow down a bit. Maybe I had an extra coffee that I shouldn't have earlier.
Well, you know what? I wanted to say we have 2 prizes, at least 2. We'll see how long we go for. Thanks for all y'all that left a comment so far. So if you're watching and you leave us a little comment, tell us where you're from. Tell us if you're sipping any wine tonight, where that's from. Just be great to hear from you. And we'll enter you for a chance to win in the draws tonight. So what do we have? We have 2 prizes so far.
We have a free Canadian Wine Challenge.
Yes, which is
yeah. We're giving them one out for free. So we're going to release the Canadian Wine Challenge before the end of the week. Where we're touching it right now. We're seeing everything's touching. It is like it's taking shape. This is a really cool project. So the timing is absolutely perfect here to release our Canadian Wine Challenge. So we're giving them 1, maybe 2, I don't know, for free. So people to test it out, see what's your level of Canadian wine knowledge, with different challenges, with different interviews to watch, and all of these little things. That's going to be a lot of fun. I want to know. This also, should we do a free shipping?
Yes. So we wanted to
for
give
your
you
next pack that you purchase for Carl and Carl's Wine Club?
Through Carl's Wine Club, we'll give you a coupon that just takes all the shipping off for wherever you are. Because I know shipping has gotten ridiculous to some places lately, the price of gas and inflation and all these things. So yeah, next time you get a more expensive shipping rate, you can use that if you win that free shipping coupon. And those are the kinds of prizes that you can win in the challenge. So it's not it's going to be lots of fun. It's not just like learn stuff about Canadian wine regions, which I think is pretty cool because learning about wine involves drinking wine. But it's also about getting prizes. So you'll earn points and then you can redeem them for cool prizes like free shipping on a pack or even free shipping for the year potentially if you really do a crazy amount of the challenges. So will be
You got
lots
that
of
right, Mira. So maybe we can do also an NOV note. Oh, we have a bunch of prize. Let's stick with us. I want to see a bunch of comments. And yes, Daryl. I want to welcome Daryl Hickey from Ontario, Diane Barber, Susan McLennan, and also welcome to all of the Canadian wine lovers who are tuning in on the Facebook page of the Silva Winery, Sue and staff, like a bunch of others of our partner right now are broadcasting live. So hello to all of the Canadian wine lovers. This is 2022 Harvest Report with Carl's Wine Club. So
now I see Jörg in the green room. Should we let him in?
Why not?
Now
before 1 second, Mira. Before I stumble again and I butcher his name and everyone start laughing, can you please introduce Jörg?
Okay.
Like the proper pronunciation.
I don't know if it's totally proper. He'll correct us. But Jörg Stutz is from Domaine de Grand Pré, right?
I love the way you say it. Can you say it again?
Domaine de Grand Pré.
Yes, we got it.
Scotia. And it is like really late where he is. So let's bring him on.
There you go, Jörg. You're in. How's it going?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We're doing great. I know it's late out there, so
we just cracked open a GSM, a Syrah Grenache Mourvèdre Rosé.
But if you move one bottle down, Mira, we have something else open, and it's 2017 Léon Milot from your winery, Jörg. I had one bottle left. And I said, you know what? I think tonight is the night. We need to crack it open and see how's the 17 shows. So, yeah. Hey, it's slow down time now, or are you still running around like crazy?
No, we finished picking last week. So it's all the grapes are in. And we can take a little breather now and relax a little bit more. No more long nights. And yes, it's all getting better now.
So just to give a little perspective to our Canadian wine lovers, because we have people on right now from Vancouver Island, from Ontario, from Regina. So how about we describe a little bit your estate? So you're the winemaker, the part of the family who owns Domaine des Grands Prés for now, second generation, I believe. And so where are you located? And how big your estate is?
Well, we're in beautiful Annapolis Valley, Nova Scotia, and I mean it's still a very young wine industry compared to Ontario and BC. It really only started in the 80s, but not really in earnest. I want to say, like when we arrived in 1994, there was like a handful of wineries, and things changed quite a bit, especially over the last 15 years, 20 years maybe. And so nowadays there is 24, 25 wineries, I believe, lots of cideries and lots of distilleries. So it changed a whole lot. But we're right in the middle of it. We're just outside Wolfville in the Annapolis Valley, a little town called Grand Pré, which also the landscape of Grand Pré is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And so it's really pretty, especially this time of the year. And now we can enjoy it a little bit more since all the stress of the harvest is over. But so we are actually the oldest farm winery in Atlantic Canada. And again, it started in the late 70s, early 80s. And there were a couple owners before us. And so we have it since 1994. We have about 50 acres, close to 50 acres. In different locations, 3 different locations, some in the Gasper Valley, some vineyards in the close to the vineyard or the estate, and lots of different varieties, and there's lots going on, that's for sure.
So on the red side, I believe that you guys focus on hybrid grapes, also on the white. But also, if you guys are farming a few of the Vitis vinifera, right?
We are indeed, and it's still fairly new. Like on the red side, we have some Pinot Noir, a little bit of Cab Franc, and we just released last year's Pinot Noir, which was in oak barrels for about 10 months. So we just released it last month or a couple of weeks ago. Really pretty wine. And then, but you're right. Other than that, like we have mainly still hybrids or interspecific varieties like the Leo Mio, Marshall Foch, Baco Noir, Lucy Coolman, Castel, and you name it. Another interesting one I find is Marquette. And Marquette has a little bit of Pinot Noir in its parentage. So it certainly shows some of the characteristics of a Pinot Noir. It's a little bit more delicate, more complex, compared to just a hybrid red. And so there is lots of new varieties still coming out these days, or every year new varieties are coming out, and so we are still experimenting with lots of different varieties too.
And I think the father of the winery, the big boss there, Grandpa, I think he was part of the group where put together the appellation for the white for the region, right? So you guys, Domaine des Grands Prés was part of the Tidal Bay Appellation Foundation from the very beginning. So Hans Peter, who started who was there at the beginning, was part of the whole thing, correct?
Absolutely. No, I mean he was one of the founding members of the Winery Association. And the Tidal Bay appellation grew out of that group, out of the Winery Association. And absolutely, my dad was part of it. He retired a couple of years ago, so he still comes to the winery almost every day. But he's certainly stepped back.
They are hard to keep away, right?
Yes. Well, he knows that the good stuff hides, and so it's.
How about we jump in the thick of what we're talking about? Talking about Harvest 2022. So I was pretty intrigued to see how everything unfold in your region. Let's start from the beginning. Spring, early summer, or also the fruit set from last year. So how things are started for you this year?
Right. Well, we did have a cooler than, I can't say normal anymore these days, I guess, but it was cooler than the last few years, like the winter temperatures I'm talking. And we had a couple nights where we hit -21, -22 degrees Celsius, which again was a little bit colder than in other years. Like in previous winters, maybe we had -17, -18, but -22 in just this winter now, it did do a little bit of damage, specifically in the hybrid, the vinifera varieties like Chardonnay and Pinot. We saw quite a bit of winter damage. Other than that, like we had, it wasn't quite as early as last year, but it was still a very early bud break. We had a very dry, very hot summer, and not a lot of humidity throughout the summer. So it was really a nice summer, good fruit set, and everything looked actually really good for the longest time. And then the fall, I still don't know what happened there, but something happened. And of course, we had Fiona, Hurricane Fiona in September, was it? And so after that, we had a couple more, days with a lot of rain, lots of rainfall, and the health of some of the varieties started to decline quite rapidly after that. So we had to be a little bit careful with making sure they're picked on or in time, to just not to let them go too far down a slippery road there and get too much like bunch rot and other disease in there. So we had to pick some early, a little bit, some varieties a little bit earlier than we would have hoped. But overall, we can't really complain. Like it was a very, very decent year. Yields were down compared to last year, but then again, last year really was a big bumper year. So no, it was good yields, and the quality is absolutely all right as well. So we can't, yeah, no.
You know, Jorg, it's funny because yes, we're at the opposite of the country, and I had my boots on the ground here, right? Like walking up and down the valley all summer, and it was the complete. And we're gonna hear from more winemaker later on. Is complete opposite here. It was a disaster. A
Wow.
disastrous spring and early summer, wet and cold. We were 3 to 4 weeks behind.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Until all the way until like August, mid-August, where we were still playing catch up, and our fall absolutely saved the vintage. It was the warmest and the longest fall on record, and so it feels like the script were completely flipped from an ocean to another. But yeah, I hear you. When I was hearing about Fiona, that's where, and I almost sent you an email at that point saying like, yeah, what's going to be the repercussion on that for the growing season, because I knew that you guys had great numbers all summer. Like, oh my God, it might be a deal breaker here. So can you tell us a little bit like what the biggest impact of a either tropical storm or tornado or specific event like Fiona will do to the vineyard?
Right. Like my biggest concern always is the rain amount or the rainfall. So we have some varieties that are, you know, a little bit susceptible to berry splitting. And because we had such a dry summer, we were really concerned that with all the rain that we got, that, you know, the grapes, the berries would soak up the water and they start to split. And once they split, of course, it's the entry point for all kinds of disease and bunch rot and arthritis and all that. So we have to be very, very careful. So that was kind of my biggest concern. Other than that, with the wind that we had some damage to the trellis. We had some, you know, trees or limbs knocking down some end posts. But that wasn't the worst part. I think it was really the rain or a combination of things, and also the couple big rain events that we had after Fiona as well. So it was it was a weird fall, and at the same time it was very warm as well. So, you know, the combination of the moisture of the rain, the wet soils, the high temperature really created kind of a difficult situation for all kinds of disease to start to grow. And just talking about temperatures, like we did harvest or start the harvest very early, about the same as last year, which was around the 20th of September, which again, for Nova Scotia, it is quite early. On the other side, we did finish very early as well. We finished the earliest ever. Usually we would still be picking and pressing this time of the year. But as I said earlier, we everything got harvested last week. So we're all done for this year. But another thing we really had to pay attention to was because of the warm temperatures, the acidity levels really started to drop fairly rapidly. Like, you know, we had still 20, 26, 27 degrees Celsius days. And obviously the grapes, they're ripening, the acidity levels go down, sugar levels are going up. And for the style of wine that we are aiming for, like, is it the tidal bay or the crisp, you know, refreshing whites, the sparkling wines, of course, we have to be very careful to retain the acidity. And just because of the warm temperatures and the sunshine that we had, the ripening process really progressed really fast. So we had to be careful, get all the grapes in that we needed for the sparkling wines, for the tidal bays and those kind of things. And so that was something I never really experienced in this way because of the warm temperatures in the late fall.
Oh, fantastic. So Jorge, I couple two more questions before I let you go, because we have much like we have Ontario cruise going to show up pretty soon, and I need to let you go to bed anyway. Hey, if you have to pick a star grapes for this year harvest, which one of your grape at the estate you say will show the best from the condition that you received this year from Mother Nature?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say like our workhorse is the Lacadie Blanc. Lacadie Blanc is a hybrid variety that originally came actually from Ontario, from Wineland, the research station there. And it's kind of our workhorse. And it showed again this year that, it's really a perfect variety for our climate. Like and we use it for all kinds of different products. We use it for sparkling wines. We do a standalone Lacadie Blanc, a varietal wine. We use it as well in the Tidal Bay blend. So it's a very versatile variety, and I think it saved our season. I think the viniferas, again, with the frost damage that we've had and with the problematic conditions in the fall, with the humidity and the warm temperatures and all the rain, it really made it difficult to ripen them properly. And I think my variety for this year is Lacadie Blanc.
That's awesome. That was probably one of my very favorites from you guys when we tasted your wines. I love that one.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think Lacadie Blanc is one of the biggest component of the Tidal Bay the Tidal Bay wine as well. Correct. So we can expect fresh, bright, and a nice Tidal Bay from the 2022.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm gonna put together a vintage chart from across the country for the 2022 vintage. And I want to rate that, because what we do here, I rate the wines. Every wine I taste, we rate them on a scale of 100. And I'm going to start to rate the vintage as well, a little bit like Wine Spectator does with their vintage chart on a scale of 100. If I ask your opinion here, on a scale of 100, how would you rate 2022? I know it's early. It's hard because the wines are not even in vessel yet, but what's the potential of that one? Meaning that, let's say 95 plus, it's absolute classic, some of the best vintage. Between 90 and 95 would be more as great, good potential, but not some of the best. 85 to 90, decent, but we're looking for something better.
Yeah, I think I just have to say I was a little bit disappointed with this year's harvest, like just because everything lined up really nicely. Like we had a really beautiful summer, nice and warm and dry, and everything seemed to line up just perfectly. Other than the little bit of winter damage that we've had. But so overall, I'm a little bit disappointed with the way it seems to be turning out. So yeah, maybe 85, 90 in that range, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know it's a difficult question, and the girls at the office who are in charge of the marketing would say, "Stop saying that! You can't say it. We need to sell these wines." But you know what?
The beautiful thing we've learned is that even if the vintage is not amazing, like you Carl, were saying, what was it, 2010, 2011 in Napa? Everyone thought
2011, like with 2011, whereas one of the was the down year, but you know what? The aging potential was absolutely fantastic, and now 11s are showing better than the 10 and the 12 as we speak today. So, yeah,
that's why wine is such a fun adventure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No, we can certainly, we can be expecting a lot of nice wines, nice products from this vintage, no doubt. But yeah,
no problem. We know your skills. We know your skills. We're used to your wine. We're happy, and we can't wait to taste the new release. We can't wait to know what's coming up for you guys, because at Carl's Wine Club, we love Domaine des Grands Prix. We love what you do, and thank you for joining us, Jörg. Thank you for keeping us, all of our members, in the loop on the condition for 2022, and we greatly appreciate your collaboration.
My pleasure, anytime.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Oh, wow. That's a good start.
So great.
That's a good start, eh?
Yeah. So awesome. So
yeah.
Awesome. It's just so much fun to be almost all the way on the other side of the country and hearing about these things. And you know what? It didn't even cross my radar to think that those hurricanes that were happening down south, could have been a concern, and I'm sure they were a concern, and I'm glad to hear it worked out for them. So
Well, that's what we're saying. Right? Like Fiona didn't hit Nova Scotia, but the repercussion of it brought a boatload of rain, and that's where the problem started, because everything looked so freaking amazing until that happened.
totally.
So yeah. Hey, listen here. I'm having trouble with. I don't know if you noticed. I had to check down a couple times. So that's the beauty to be connected. My phone being connected with Messenger Kids. I don't know how many friends that they have tonight, but they are all calling on Messenger Kids. So yeah, and I lose my audio when it happened.
Right. Yeah.
So I missed half of Yorgi's interview because I couldn't hear what he's saying.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, I'll go turn that off for you if you want. There's a setting. But guess who's in the green room is Sue Ann's staff.
No way. Is she?
Yes,
is she? You know what? If there's no doubt that if only one of these guys will show up today, I knew it would be her, because she is as reliable as anyone in the business. She's one of my favorite person in the freaking entire country. So I'm so glad that she's joining us tonight.
That's awesome. So let's bring her on. So we went from Nova Scotia all the way on the East Coast. We're heading back into Ontario, into Niagara. And so here's Sue Ann.
Okay, I'll let you talk to Sue Ann for a second. I'm going to go talk to kids, and I'm coming back right now, okay?
Okay. Sue Ann, it's so good to see you.
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, there's a slight echo,
okay.
But that's all right. I can understand what you're saying.
Hopefully
it's not me.
I'm not. I have this very handsome and handy new husband who has everything all switched around and way too modern, and so my first time on the microphone system since it's been changed. So, is it still echoey, or are you okay now?
I think it might be a tiny bit of feedback.
Okay.
But I think it's manageable.
Okay.
Hopefully you guys can leave us a comment if it's a lot worse on your side.
I might take my mic volume down a little bit. I wonder if that makes a difference. Is that?
Let's see.
Oh, and how about echo? How about that?
Yeah, I think it's just me, like on a speaker over there. But anyway, Daryl says, "Happy Sue."
Yes.
That's awesome.
Always happy.
Yes. Well, it's so great to see you.
Great to see you too. I liked Carl's comments about Sue Ann being here and reliable. Hey, if there's a microphone and a camera, I'm there. Like that's how simple I am. So.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to go out to tune out and come back right away. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I can't hear anything. So.
Or come down here. Come down here. Okay. Yes. So tell us a little bit more about how Mira's doing the Jimi Hendrix thing. See, I don't know. Blame it on Messenger Kids. Tell us how harvest started this year. I mean, not harvest, but the vintage, like in the spring.
Yeah, it was quite crazy. It's just one that kind of caught us a little bit off guard right from the spring. And what happened? Like the winter caught us a little bit off guard, I think, is where I should probably start. Last vintage, we had a lot of rain and very heavy crops. So that probably didn't set the vines up into the best condition to go into the winter. And then the winter wasn't overall extraordinarily cold. We did have one cold event though. It was January 15th, I think it was, where it just plummeted out of nowhere down to about minus 26 degrees Celsius. And it was a really super still, calm night as well. So there's some spots up here where I am. So I'm quite a bit away from Lake Ontario. I'm on top of the Niagara Escarpment. I'm right on the fringe, quite frankly. And there were some farms just a little bit more fringe than we are that got down to minus 31 degrees Celsius. So that's just like, that's so killer, right? Like vines can handle minus 18, no problem. Minus 20, minus 22, things start to get a little dodgy, but minus 26, you start panicking, and definitely minus 31, there's problems. So Yeah, but that was just one event though. And that's what was so weird, and how we have so much damage this year. And so the thinking is that the fall with this high water, high crop just didn't set the vine up into a good condition going into the winter. So it may have suffered damage at -18 or -20 when our radar wasn't totally on to have our wind machines on and things like that. So it's a well, we're always learning. We're always learning. That's part of the problem. It's my 30th vintage, I think this was. I was like, why is this new sometimes? It shouldn't be new anymore. So
Well, I thank you, Mira, for taking over. I appreciate that.
I didn't really, but yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm listening to what Sue-Ann's saying, and I think it probably never will get old. But you know what it is? We talked to Richard De Silva, who's also been farming in the Okanagan. His family's been doing this since the 50s, right?
Right. Yes.
And he was the least worried of all the people when we had a crazy spring. He's like, I've seen this a million times, and every year it's crazy. But the wines are really made in September and October. And so I'm not going to worry about it. That's what he was saying. So
The difference with our friends in Ontario, Mira, I think, and like when you get bud damage and vine damage, you know that there's nothing you can do. It's lost for the season. So, you know, when it's just temperature, you say, yeah, Mother Nature is going to balancing out at the end. But when you know you have damage in the vines, in the vineyard, you're like, now I need to roll with the short crops or a disastrous crop. So yeah.
And so the decisions you have to make too in the spring are quite challenging, because we can go through and we can cut buds to see how many buds survived through the winter and how many didn't early in the spring. You still have the problems too of trying to figure out what the damage is from spring frost, which is yet to come, of course. There's some tricky years too where the bud might be alive, but the trunk is damaged. And so, you've got the good bud count numbers, but somehow through the winter, the trunk got damaged. So the spring will come, the buds will pop, and vines are different than other plants. So usually in other plants, like the roots get growing first, and then the vine, and then the plant, like the buds pop. That's where you get your leaves, right? And your stems. In the case of vines, though, they don't rely on their roots. They're totally going on the reserves that's in the trunk and in the stems, and the canes that are there, until there's about 2 centimeters, 5 centimeters of growth, and then the roots kick in to help. So if you don't know that the trunk is dead and that literally the vine is dead, you'll get this false hope. You'll get this green growth, like, okay, good, we got it, and then so that's why I look at some vines out there and I'm like, what happened to you? Like you look fine, and you see all this growth that got to this far, and then you go perfectly across the whole canopy, and then it's like, yeah, no, can't do it. And that vine, so it didn't die until like June type thing. So, and there's some other weird situations too. I'm just babbling. Sorry.
Keep going.
I feel like I have a sympathetic audience, so I have to.
Yeah, I know exactly. I can see all of our other people listening around. It's like, yep.
So like there's some vines too, like our Pinot Grigio, I thought for sure was smoked from the winter time, just totally freezer burnt, cooked, like done. And so just left it. And then I couldn't believe how many suckers popped out, like how much growth from the bottom popped up through the summertime. So you're like, well, so now what I do? Like in my mind, I was like, well, we're going to pull this out and replant it to something else. But then, well, look at all these suckers that grew. And okay, so if I just struggle through this for 2 years, I can rebuild this vineyard. So the good part is the summer was fantastic. I mean, it was so hot and dry through July. So sure, we didn't have a lot of grapes, but what was there was beautiful, like just gorgeous, right? So while I'm focusing on the negative, the positive is that whatever fruit there was there, which is probably less than 50% of a total crop,
Less of a 15%, less of a 50%, eh?
Less than 50% of a typical crop. Not even last year's crop, because last year's crop was probably 30% more than average.
Over, yeah, that was the bumper crop last year, eh?
Yeah. So we're probably 50% below average is what I'm going to put the peninsula.
So compared to last year, you're taking a 65% down from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you know, and I'm probably going to ask a little later, but okay, I don't know with where you're located, it's different. That what's happened in the Lincoln Lake Shore, definitely different from Niagara on the Lake. But for you, is there any grape varietal who are more affected, or it's more site specific?
So both. So I think regardless of where you were in Niagara, I think you're going to have some challenges with this past vintage with Merlot sensitive varieties, cold sensitive varieties like Merlot, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir. Those ones in particular are not as cold tolerant as varieties, let's say like Riesling or Cabernet Franc or the hybrids like. There's not one dead vine of Vidal. There's not one dead vine of Baco out there. Not one. So it went through perfectly fine. And then you get into the site next. So, okay. So like here with the Riesling, if you're up closer to the house or closer to the road, great vine survival there. No problem at all. But as that cold air kind of moved towards the edge of the escarpment, got caught by the trees, that cold just kind of locked in there. And so you can see lines in a sense in the vineyard where like right through the middle of the row, or if you're flying.
I was there in September, Suan, and near the road, there's like 6 or 7 rows where it was like completely yellow in September. Like I knew like something that was completely destroyed right there.
Yeah. So closer to the bush, not so great. Closer to the road, okay. And then also, and then we go to vine age as well. So younger vines were able to manage the cold better than the older vines. So we have a young vineyard of Riesling, just kind of a little bit more, I don't know, east of the main buildings here, and planted in 2008. It looks perfect. The stuff planted in 94. That's where we see some delineation through.
Are you telling me that's why Mira is managing storms better than I do?
Well, that was one good thing after listening to D'Silva, and we didn't have any hurricanes, so
exactly. So okay, that can be varietal specific, but also site specific.
So vine, and then the vine age as well too.
Yeah.
And then if you had a particular vineyard that you just cropped to death last year and left it with a really heavy crop and thought that you nailed it and great, like we picked 10 tons the acre. Well, which vineyard probably got hit hardest? Probably that one. So in fact, there's some spots in Niagara Lake that are on flat land that I can guarantee you last year would have had very, very, very high crops. And it's just so sad to see, 50 acre blocks that have been pulled out to rejuvenate from that winter. So anyway, it's part of the deal. You have to be the eternal optimist to be doing this, really.
It reminds me of my conversation that I had with Lou Puglisi this summer, and it's like, people are freaking out, and it's like it's happened every 10, 12 years. Like it's not like if it's the first time, you know what, you move forward and you focus on the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. And there's no point of dwelling on what happened during the winter. Let's focus on and move on, because like people react like if it's the first time ever. Oh my God! Oh, guess what? It happened like when you're in the biz for as long as you have been, you've seen it before. But 65% decline in production. Ow! That's a big kick in the nuts, that's for sure.
That's where the bank doesn't really care as much. They're like, that's nice. So where's the mortgage payment? And utilities, all that. So life carries on. That's the tough part about it. But at the same time, you get you get used to rolling through the cycles of it, and farmers have this expression of, and really we're farmers first. We have to be farmers first to have great grapes. You have to be out there in the vineyard to understand what's happening, just like you do with the wheat farm. I had a great tour today. People from the agriculture industry from kind of all over Canada, really. And I said, really, I'm a dairy farmer, just that you guys milk cows and get milk, and I milk a grapevine and get wine. And I'm lucky to have a lot more, I don't know, cachet that comes with it. It has a little more, I don't know, ritziness. That's the word. Ritzy.
At least your meal gives people the buzz across the country.
That's right. Like milk, like strengthens your teeth and makes your bones strong. Like, what's that good for? Like, wine makes you happy.
Hey, is there a rock star grape that we can expect from your 2022 vintage? What would be maybe one on the white, one on the red side?
Yeah, so on the red side, easy Cabernet Franc. In fact, some things about this vintage are reminding me a lot of 2009. 2009, like.
Okay, stop. I just want to tell our people who are listening to us. This lady is absolutely, she blows my mind every time. She picked vintage all of her brain like this, like if it's a freaking Rolodex or something. Yep, 2009. Yeah, that's right. But every time you do that, it floors me. I'm like, oh my God, she's doing it again.
Well, I gotta tell you why this one sticks out of my mind. 2009, because I just moved into my house. I just finished renovating it, and but I had my grandparents' old furnace, which was like the oil furnace, and the pot cracked on it, and the furnace to replace it was still 6 weeks out, which meant I wasn't going to get it until December the 9th, 2009, which means I couldn't turn a furnace on until November the 9th, 2009. And the wild part was I barely needed to, because it was such a beautiful fall that we didn't even start harvesting in the big reds until November. And so this year, with the 2022s, like if you could get through that about a week of some really horrible, cold, gloomy nights, or about a whole week of that actually. So if you could make it through that and stop the birds from eating the grapes, we've had a couple weeks of some beautiful weather. This weekend, it's going to be 22 degrees on Sunday. That's ridiculous. So we've had some cold nights. I've heard some people with wind machines going to keep those leaves, to prevent them from getting some of the damage from heavy frosts. And so you'll keep those leaves alive. And this weekend, you'll get another quarter brick, or you get a little more dehydration, get a little more weight and texture to the wines, because they've lasted that much longer on the vine. So. And
is the chestnut tree, like all of this area, still in the vine? You haven't picked yet?
So I did harvest the chestnut tree Cabernet Franc. It was such a light crop that at some point you just have to go, you know what? It's over. and also my chestnut tree Cabernet Franc, the berries are so tiny on it that it was already starting to dehydrate a little bit. And so hence I thought if I keep going, there's going to be raisins. It'll be Amarone before it even.
Yeah, there's no more juice-skin ratio anymore. No. Like it's like, yeah. That's interesting.
It was pretty low juice ratio to the skin. So
yeah, that's interesting. And on the white, which one would you say? Because by the way, we have to say last week we cracked open the Elsha Chardonnay 2019 that you gave me. It's probably one of the best chard that you ever made. This 19 Chardonnay is absolutely stunning.
Is it beautiful? It's gorgeous wine. It was just a nice combination of French and Hungarian oak. A nice combination as well of new and 2-year-old oak as well. So you kind of get a little bit of everything in that wine, which is just so. I just served it today with buttered popcorn for this group that was here, and it was just a hit. So
you know what? There's a precision on that wine that I extremely appreciate. There's a length and complexity, and the price point. Oh my God! I served it with Chardonnays. Double the price of the
interesting.
Double the price, and people were asking, which one is the most expensive?
Right.
So it tells you that, it was like bang on, and I love the precision of that one.
Oh, thank you.
A little bit more focus, a little bit, So I like, wow, bang on.
Right.
You'll get my tasting notes by the mail in the mail in a few.
In the email.
In the email, okay.
Okay,
Not the
so
real
sorry,
mail.
I digressed here. I wanted to know what's the Rockstar white grape from Suan this year.
Yeah, I think it's Riesling again. That's it wasn't the hottest vintage we've had. And when we pick Riesling, it's a little bit earlier. So we picked that about September 16th, about the 17th or 18th is quite early actually. That we just saw it being ripe. And the acidity was still there. And the cool thing with Riesling is you don't want the sweetness like you do with the big full-bodied reds, right? So once you hit about 20 bricks, yeah, and the flavor's there, acidity is still there. Yeah, it's perfect time to harvest it. So looking forward to some really great Rieslings of course. Again, it's when it comes to here in Riesling, it's just always a good year. I hate to be I don't know, brash about that or whatever, but like this really is Riesling country, and every year it is just beautiful. So
And you are the Riesling lady. Okay, just plain and simple. You're the Riesling lady. I've been talking like even people in Western Canada a lot now
yes,
are like,
thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely. And Vicky's commenting here. Your favorite is it's our 2019 or 2014. She said that's her favorite. To me, I have a soft spot for the 18 Roberts block.
Right.
But I know that we had some guests over the other day, and we pulled out the 2011,
Right.
and holy moly, that wines is showing great right now. So yes, Riesling country with the Riesling lady.
I have quite a bit of 2011 Riesling, and I pulled out of the catacombs of the warehouse for you folks exclusively first. I think we released that last summer as part of a Riesling varietal pack. And then we just started maybe about a month ago selling that wine on its own here. So so anybody can get it. It's we are looking towards the winter of how to, celebrate each weekend, and look forward to doing a couple Riesling celebrations throughout the winter, just to highlight how beautiful the Rieslings are here and how gracefully they age as well.
You've done your grilled cheese extravaganza.
So this Sunday we are doing a grilled cheese extravaganza. So we always make grilled cheese sandwiches with Wrapped Up in the Valley, and which is a promotion that happened through November here in the 20 Valley area. Now we're calling it the Niagara Benchlands, and I have to do it on this side. That's where it physically is. This side is not grapes. This side is grapes. And so it's one of the casualties of COVID, quite frankly. And so I need this house to smell like grilled cheese sandwiches again. And I really thoroughly miss it. If you make grilled cheese sandwiches every weekend for 3 weekends in a row, it like permeates into the curtains and the walls. And I haven't had that aroma. So on Sunday, you can still buy a ticket. It's $30 a person, and we're sold out until 3:30. But after 3:30 or 4 o'clock or somewhere, there's some openings until 5. And at 5 o'clock, we're flipping it over to be completely gluten free. And so it's 4 different grilled cheese sandwiches, 4 different wines to go with it, and I can't wait to see. Oh, we should have a little ballot box at the end to see what people's favorite was. I can write that down.
Mira, I'll let you go on about the grilled cheese. Okay, Mira, let's go. The floor is yours. I want you to tell our folks.
Trying to recreate Sue-Ann's famous grilled cheese from when we were there in June. She did her famous grilled cheese and Rieslings back with our members. Like there were 8 of us or 10 of us, 8 of us.
Yeah.
And, so your secret, if you don't mind me sharing, is that Sue-Ann puts a little bit of Parmesan on the outside as well. And it gets all crispy.
It does.
And then inside it's all like gooey. And then she puts like a thin layer of like, wine jelly and that sort of thing? Or
on top, like a blob of something on top. So they're like wine jelly or let's see, or like a curry mix. Or what else?
And also that little Granny Smith apples, thinly sliced in the middle to bring the crunchiness.
Yeah, so I change it up every single year, right? So it always has a good quality pizza mozzarella from Quebec in the inside the sandwich, and then always another cheese of some distinction and something else, whether it's like roasted red peppers or Granny Smith apples, kind of the mandolin, or like a mild pickle type thing. And then on top is a blob of something else. So one is smoked provolone cheese with roasted red peppers, and then we had a curried fig on top of it. Another one was the Granny Smith apples, Swiss cheese with an onion marmalade on it. And oh my gosh, we did peach salsas. We've done raisin sauce. You think you don't like raisin sauce till you've had my mother's raisin sauce, and like, what? And yeah.
So that sounds amazing.
The last time we did it in Mass, we did a corn chow chow on top. We did kind of like a Mexican style type thing with a like a really flavorful Havarti inside. I forget what the stuffing was on that, but I don't know, whatever. Something yummy.
Sounds so good. So, he's just saying that Black Market has a new Omerta jalapeno rosé jelly. That sounds good.
Well, I must test this out.
Yes.
Daryl just ordered 6 of your grilled cheese. You just got a StreamYard order.
Perfect. I don't know how well they travel. I don't know where you are, Daryl, but we'll make that happen. No problem.
Maybe you can come by on Sunday, Daryl. I think that's
like last question before I let you go, Sue-Ann. It's I score wines on a scale of 100 all the time. It gives our members and our people a sense of comp, right? They can compare. Wine Spectator, Wine Enthusiast rate their vintage chart on a scale of 100 as well. If I'm going to put a vintage chart this year, and I would like to ask your opinion, 2022. I know it's early. I know things are just getting harvested, but is there a score on a scale of 100 that you can give 2022 vintage the potential? 95 to 100. It's the classic vintage. Let's say 2020 for you, 98 points, right? One of the best vintage on record. Let's say between 90 and 95, good vintage, good potential. Between 85 and 90, good vintage, but there's some flaws here and there. How would you rate that 2022? And take your marketing girl's hat off. We're gonna sell your wine. We're gonna sell your wine no matter what, because you are a rock star. But in terms of vintage potential,
so I think that we're definitely in the 90 to 95 90 to 94 category, I think. So I'd give it a strong 92, 93 points for sure. We're not below. As far as quality, quantity, well, we'll give that about a 12. So, but yeah, quantity, the quality for sure. I mean, what wines there are, what few there are going to be stunning wines. Are they going to be the classics of 2018 and 2020? That might be a stretch, maybe. There'll be some examples for sure that absolutely, some spots that probably deserve that score. But I think on a whole, for the whole peninsula, we're probably 93, 92, 93, 94, somewhere there. Yeah,
absolutely. Sue-Ann, I will keep you on all night. I just love chatting with you.
I love to chat. There we go.
By the way, also we got your Chardonnay last week, and I also tasted the pink bubbly.
Oh, the Fancy Farm Girl.
The Fancy Farm.
Yes,
we
yes.
We had a bunch of people. Vicky from Ontario came to Western Canada with her husband to celebrate our wedding anniversary, and we did a little reception at our house. And the first wine we opened, that was the Fancy Farm Girl bubbly. You
guys all have great taste. Perfect.
I love the sparks of it. I love the energy in there. I love the zip, and it's just a fun wine to taste. So thank you for that. 90 plus points, Carl's Wine Club on that one. So it was fantastic. And then ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That was Sue-Ann Staff out of Ontario. So Sue-Ann, thanks for your time. Thank you for joining us.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you very much for having me. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, Carl. Bye, Mira.
Bye. You have a good night.
So much. Have a great night. Oh, that was so fun.
Isn't it? She's the best. She's the best. So we're just having so great. So if we recap what Sue-Ann had to say, great quality of grape. All right, Great quality of the grape. The grape condition was great, but just barely no grapes. So if you can find some, it's going to be good to drink. That's what I'm getting. That's where I'm getting with the 2022 in the from Suan's perspective. The Riesling has a potential to be rock star. The Cap Franc as well. So yeah. And isn't it what she does best anyway? If you
Riesling
look
and
at Suan's portfolio, like the Chestnut Tree is a freaking fantastic wine. Obviously, or Roberts Block Chardonnay, Roberts Block Riesling, beautiful. So anyway, yeah, great time with Suan staff. Thank you so much for joining us, Suan. So now, what's next? Should we get into the maybe Lake Erie, North Shore, Appalachian?
I was just thinking this.
Did you?
So yeah,
Like
this
right
is.
in the midst of it. So
Oops.
there
Can
you
we see here?
go. Lake Erie, North Shore, Appalachian. I'm with Melissa Mushadre. Melissa, how's it going?
Things are good. The sun is still shining here and it's still a nice November. So it's good. It hasn't
Late
gotten
into
cold.
late into the season, eh? So yeah, tell me a little bit more, 2022. How much of a roller coaster this one was for you guys?
So 2022 has been interesting. So we started off with a later season. So we had a later than normal bud break because we did have a cooler spring. Um, so we started off late, and then oh my god, my hands are stained. Sorry. We
You know what? The proof is in the
I'll tell
pudding.
you this one because
Yeah.
this hand's clean. Um, so we started off with a later season to begin with. And then we got a drought this summer, which I mean would have been ideal for us. So we kind of caught up. But then we had a weird, cool September. So, I mean, things are good right now, but with the drought we had, they could have been better if we had started our season off a little bit sooner. But I mean, the quantities are really low, but the quality is going to be really high this year.
Oh, well, that's interesting, because
Yeah.
I think like just like us, like in BC, late start of the season,
Yeah.
super rainy. But the drought is the first time that I'm hearing a drought here, well, from this vintage. So it's interesting that that makes your region a little different.
Yeah. So we had a very the dry July and August is essentially what I would say helped us for the most part, because it helped us catch up. But the problem was is we didn't have. Ideally, we would have wanted an earlier bud break. We want a lot of things, right? We want an earlier bud break. We want that rain in the spring to give us kind of our vigor, and then we want our drought to come. So we want it to happen in a very timely manner. And I get things
You,
didn't happen exactly
you
as we would
didn't
like.
put the order properly.
Exactly. My order didn't come in the way me and my brother would have
Yeah.
asked for it. But you know what? The sugar levels on everything are high, which I mean is ideal. And the nicest part is, I mean, it's November right now. We're still processing and we're not frozen. So I will take
That's a
it.
big deal, and you can still hang some fruits, right? Probably is your Syrah still hanging?
So we harvested our Syrah. We just actually pressed our Syrah on Sunday. So
Mm.
we harvested our Syrah. It was a low crop. But the sugar levels were good. Um, I would say our Syrah, our Cab Sauv right now are our two kind of standouts. We didn't get a Nebbiolo crop this year because of some winter damage, but we did get a Barbera crop, and our Barbera crop came in. The sugar levels came back really high. So I would say our Syrah, our Cab Sauv, and our Barbera are kind of going to probably be our standouts for this year. So it's a very good, I would say, red growing year because I mean droughts always favor like a hotter growing season always favors reds, right? And I mean, that's ideal for us because, as I always say, we love
Yes.
making reds. So
And in the past, you guys were doing Barbera Cabernet. Are you guys still gonna blend with Cab, or you're going straight varietal because of the
it'll
skin down?
be a blend again.
Yeah.
So it was a low crop, still relatively high acidity. So we'll blend the Cab Sauv back into it, just like we did in 17, with the last one that you tried. So we'll do the same thing. Our 2021 vintage that's in barrel right now, that year we will have a straight Nebbiolo and a
Oh,
straight
that's
Barbera. But
interesting.
2022 we're gonna move on. Yeah.
So as you
2022 we're gonna
know, your counterpart from Niagara had, well, you were
Mhm.
talking about low crop, right? So
Yes, we had a low crop as well.
they had an extremely low crop, winter damage, a lot. And so I'm talking to some of these other people, and some of the places lost 70% of
Yeah.
their crop this year. So if you compare your low crop to the disastrous low crop in Niagara, how would you compare your low crop?
It's not that disastrous.
Yeah.
I would say we're about maybe 40%, like around your
Okay.
30th percent. And the biggest thing is the berries are just small. So
Yeah.
all the berries are so small, which I mean for grape growing is ideal, but it's like you wanted more of those small berries, right? Just because it was a low crop. But you're farming, right? So you take what you get. I can't put in my my request to Mother Nature and ask for them, right? You just, I mean,
You
you
get what, yeah,
bunch
you take what you get. And but when you think about small berry, I think, and especially for the red, like small berry, so more skin juice
exactly,
ratio. So we can expect something a little bit more tannic, right? Especially for
exactly.
these big reds, the cabs, the Ciroc, something a little bit more tannic, something that might have to lay down a little
Exactly.
bit upon release, like not necessarily the pop and pour, but the
Yeah,
long-term game will be extremely well rewarded. I would
exactly.
believe so.
Yeah. So like our Cab Sauv, the tannins, I mean our Cab Sauv, we harvested our Cab Sauv we processed it on Sunday. So I processed it a couple days ago, and you can already tell that the skin to juice ratio. So we ferment in half-ton bins. So we're doing all uber small fermentation. So they're all in half-ton bins, and you can tell when you're punching down, like it is 100% skin. Like it is all skin. Like I was laughing. I don't have my watch on today, but usually when I have my Apple Watch on, I've closed out all of my activity rings by lunchtime just from doing punch down. But,
So
so yeah.
when did the process started this year? When the harvest started? Which date did you guys got going?
So we started Labor Day weekend. We
Okay.
harvested our first grapes. So we always start off with our Pinot Grigio. So our Pinot Grigio went first. So Pinot Grigio, then we did our Pinot Noir, um, and then we finished off with our whites. So we finished off with our Riesling, our Vidal, our Sauv Blanc, and now the past couple weeks we've done Syrah, Merlot, Cab Franc, Cab Sauv, and then we have the rest of our Cab Franc being harvested tomorrow. Um, so by the end of this week,
Should be a
everything
wrap.
will be inside. So we won't
Okay.
be done, but I don't care what happens outside anymore for that matter.
Exactly, right. And how's the forecast? Forecast is still calling for pretty good weather.
The forecast for Lake Erie down here is actually insane for the first week of November. Like right now, hold on, let me check. Right now, we are reading 20 degrees Celsius, which I mean is unheard of for November here. And that's what basically until I think Saturday or Sunday, we're going to be 18, 19, 20. So usually I'm used to processing at this time, and like you're free, like your hands are ice, like you're frozen.
Freezing your ass.
Exactly.
So, and it's wet and it's miserable.
It's awful. But by next week we'll be kind of to your single digits. But that won't happen till I think the 11th or 12th. So we still have a good 10 days worth of, I mean, somewhat decent weather. And one of my biggest things this year is it's funny because I've been staring at the vineyard. So I stare at the vineyard outside my office windows. And this year, more so than ever, we've had like a real fall in Lake Erie North Shore. So usually we'll get like a frost, you'll lose all your leaves, like you get like a weird temperature in between. Whereas this year, like I watched the vineyard change color, I watched the forest behind us change color, and everything like happened very timely. So it's funny because the Pinot Grigio that we harvested the first week of September, I can already tell like the vines are completely dormant and they're asleep. Like they're ready for winter. The last ones that have leaves right now are this Cab Sauv that we just harvested, but you could already tell that one's ready to say like good night. I'm ready for winter, which sometimes like last growing season, by the time we harvested and by the time like winter hit, it was like vines weren't even like dormant as much as they're going to be this year. So that's nice that going into winter, you have like a proper cycle.
Well, I think, and just for our listener to understand, it might be one of the reasons why you have a smaller crop this year by not having that proper fruit set, that proper setting going into dormancy.
Exactly.
It often leads with into a small crop, frost, rough spring, and this and that, and so.
So that's one of the biggest problems that happened with Niagara last year. So last fall last fall Niagara was very wet. So when they were finishing off harvest right now, it was raining and it was cold. So in terms of like hilling up and prepping your vineyard for winter, your vineyard isn't going into a proper dormancy. And that, if you have a little bit of cold over the winter, that's where your hurt kind of comes in. Whereas at least if we go into the winter with vines that are already dormant, asleep, and ready, like, okay, winter is coming.
They're comfy, they're cozy. Exactly. I don't care what happened. I love it. Exactly. So yeah.
So we're in a better position, I would say. So we'll see. But it's funny because in the middle of the winter when everybody's like, oh, it's cold outside, I'm like, what's the temperature? Do we have to turn on a wind machine? How's the vineyard doing? Like, that's our concern. I'm like, whatever, wear a jacket if you're cold. We can't go blanket a whole vineyard right now.
And just to give a sense of proportion to our people, how many acres that you guys are farming at Mushadre?
So we have 13 acres of grapes planted. So we're farming 13 acres. We're very, very small. So we do between about 2,000 and 3,000 cases a year. So right now we're selling everything straight out of this retail store. So for those of you in Ontario, you can't find anything in the LCBO. For those of you outside of Ontario, you basically have to go call Carl to get our product. That's one of the only places that you are going to get it. So
and I know that my opinion don't always matter that much, but I know that Syrah is one of your absolute rock star SKU. Your Meritage was the first time that I stumbled upon your brand was tasting your Meritage. That's what lit me up. I thought it was fantastic. One of the best value Cabernet Franc available on the market. So if you have to pick one or two, if you have to represent your brand around the world, which grape would say this is one of your flagship at Mushadre?
So I would say our Cab Franc has always been one of our rock stars. So our Cab Franc's always been our most popular. I tend to always gravitate towards our Cab Sauv. But our Syrah, as much as it's our problem child in the vineyard, because she's usually the reason we have to turn on our wind machine in the winter. She's the reason for a lot of our problems. You know what? It's different. Not everybody especially in Ontario, is growing that just because it is a problem child. So I think that kind of separates us. And that is a very distinctive Syrah. And the nice thing is I've actually been buying wines through your wine club, and I've been getting a lot of the BC wines. So I like doing my benchmarks and tasting everything basically against each other. And I've tasted a lot of the BC Syrahs, which has been nice to kind of see the differences, right, in the growing regions.
And yours has that really that a little bit more old world style approach, very perfumey, super perfumey as well. And so yes, to me, and also we're not forgot, you guys grow Nebbiolo and Barbera for all of the the kind of grapes. So this is really cool. Yeah, really, really cool. Melissa Mouchadre, thank you so much for taking the time and talking Lake Erie North Shore Appalachian harvest report. So Melissa, we'll be in touch very soon. Okay.
It was nice talking to you.
Well, that was fun. Hey, Carl. Oops.
Here. I just have a hard time.
The real live Carl Boucher.
I know. I see. No, I just took my hat off, and I was just taking my my Raven sweater off. So see, look. Yeah.
Strip tease there. That's where this night is going.
I'm like Superman, right? Like when Clark goes into the phone booth and come out, right?
Excellent. I like it.
Sorry.
Yeah, so now we have the real live Carl Boucher. That was you with Melissa, earlier today or yesterday?
It was earlier today. And I had another one from yesterday as well coming up. But it's always great to chat. Melissa's so good. She lives on site on the vineyard. That's funny because I was asking her, hey, Melissa, do you think there's one of the Mouchadre who can come? She said, who else but me? Is that her brothers? There's one is the vineyard manager. The other one is the winemaker. It's like they don't get out of the vineyard or the wine facility. Like they don't do that. So, but she knows as much. Like she lives on the vineyard. So every day, have you seen her hand at the beginning? That was funny because she's talking like that, and her left hand was blue, literally blue black. She's been doing punch down.
Right.
Yeah. Every day she's been doing down with the boys at the winery. So again,
nice.
Mary.
Yeah. Well, hey, I just wanted to check Melissa Smith from Intersection.
I'm gonna have to check out. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave you for a second and come back. If you want to do the draw, we'll talk about Lake Erie North Shore. I can't hear. I lost all of mine.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do the draw. So guys, if you haven't left a comment, now's the time. Leave a comment. We're going to do a draw for first prize. Let's call it, because we're giving away 2 prizes in this live stream. One now, one a little bit later, closer to the end. And let's say we will draw for a free shipping pass for any of our future Carl's Wine Club offerings. So I'm going to start the draw now, but if you missed it and you're like, oh, shoot, I want to leave a comment, I'll enter you in the next one. We're going to give away in the next one a free pass to our Canadian Wine Challenge, which is the best way to learn about all the different Canadian wine regions. Really fun way to do it. So it's not a WSET course. It's not something where you have to sit through boring videos. These are fun videos with challenges that you get points for. So, and then you can redeem those prizes for points. So it's a $65 challenge, and we will give you a free pass if you win the next draw. This draw is for a free shipping pass, which means that the shipping rates have gone up. We know this. Some wineries sometimes can still offer free shipping. But let's say you wanted to get wine from a winery that can't give free shipping. Some wineries charge up to like $50, $60, $70 to ship to Ontario. So if you pull this card, if you win this draw, you pull this card, you get a free shipping pass for one of those. So here we go. Let's see who wins this one.
Woohoo!
Diane Barber.
There you go. I think Diane is our guest from Saskatchewan, if I'm not mistaken. I think she's out of in Regina. So
I think
Diane,
you're correct. I think
Duh.
so. So Diane, I'm going to send you a private message in a moment, and hopefully we can get that free shipping pass out to you, Toronto.
there you go. That's awesome. Hey, Mira, you're talking about a Canadian wine challenge. Do you have any example of challenges that like you said, like, oh, the people gonna earn points and this and that? How do you get? What's the kind of challenge are we gonna put in there?
Well, there's, everything from someone who just kind of wants to be a novice in Canadian wine to someone who wants to prove their absolute geekiness about Canadian wine. So it can be as simple as earning a few points for watching the videos. Each video will get you a few points and a fun little celebration, maybe some wine glasses clinking on your screen, maybe popping a bottle of champagne on your screen. So you'll get points for watching the videos, but then you'll also get points for doing things like tasting a wine from that region, or
Posting pictures of the wine that you're opening, putting a tasting note. Lots of points for a tasting note on Carl's Wine Club VIP, right?
Yes. So we'll work within our Facebook group, and you'll be able to post on there different threads for different regions and get points for it. So that's awesome. And then the other thing that we hope to be able to do, we're just working out the finer details, is just every time you order wines, you get points as well.
Lots of points.
Yes. So sort of like a points card, like for every $1 you get a certain point or what have you. So it will be a lot of fun to earn these points between now and April 30th of 2023. And you can redeem the points for awesome prizes or chances to win prizes. So it'll be great to be able to kind of see where you're at, see where you want to be at in terms of your Canadian wine knowledge and the part of the community that you are playing, because this is such an awesome and so much fun kind of wine community that we're building here, and we want you guys to be a part of it and continue to be a part of it, and also get prizes and points for it. So,
and the fun part also is to learn more about certain regions that you don't know a ton about, right? I would do a full module on like Lake Erie, North Shore, and Prince Edward County. So now you can learn more about like the fact of the regions and the grapes varietal, the wineries in there, hearing from maybe the Mouchardry family, and like connecting with each and every wine regions. Example, the Okanagan Valley split in 3 different challenges. That's going to be pretty cool to split northern Okanagan, center Okanagan, south of the Okanagan, right? So different focus, like the escarpment versus the Niagara on the lake in Ontario. So that's going to be a lot of fun to, a lot of fun to see, to compare and to dig a little deeper in a fun way, not in the W set way. Your W set, you can take it separately. It's a $350 or $400 now. Course, you can do that.
And they have maybe a little blurb, a little paragraph
on the Canadian wine. So no, $65 to have fun with Carl's Wine Club and be part of that awesome wine community across the country. We're expecting like 1,000 people are going to be part of that challenge. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Totally.
Hey,
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Tell us where you want to go next, but also first tell me, did you send Melissa Smith's?
She did. I received the link, but if you can you mind to just send her a link? Say, hey, Melissa, ready whenever you're ready. And while we do that, how about should we bring Richard De Silva?
That would be great. Yeah. So Richard De Silva on the Naramata bench, right?
Yes.
But he also farms all over the valley, and his family's been at it for like since the 50s, right?
Richard is the quintessential vigneron. You know, that true definition of vigneron in France, where we got like the guy who the winemaker is the guy who farmed the vineyard, is the like they do everything. So Richard is that guy. He has a knowledge, a very, very intimate knowledge of not only the bench but all of the vineyard that they farm up and down the valley, especially the Outwash Vineyard in Oliver, and also use also like the what's the name of the one in Oliver?
Lazy
Oh,
Dog?
right?
Lazy Dog? No, that's
No, Lazy Dog. It's Penticton. The one
yeah.
that is there's a Portuguese name, Spanish name. The one
Avila.
Avila. Thank
Avila.
you, thank you. Wow, boom,
Well,
Mira.
that's I think it's his cousin's family because the Avilas and the De Silvas, both Portuguese. So, and Vicky's saying his Pinot is out of this world. Holy crap. Yes. We were with Vicky and Al last week at De Silva, sitting like right where Richard's sitting right now, tasting their wines. And out of the three
Did
wines.
you have put the worst picture of myself right now? Like,
well, I was going to say, like, let's just keep finding these like good spots to pause it at. Well, let's let you guys get into it. How about that? And then, yeah, it's kind of fun in this. We were here at De Silva yesterday recording this because Richard's on the road right now.
He's on his way to Vancouver. Yes, he's doing a wine dinner down in Vancouver. So
yeah, and you're going to be tasting the Legato Chardonnay, which just finished fermenting. So that's what you'll see on there. That's a super cloudy cup of a glass of wine. That is a newly fermented Legato Chardonnay. So it's going to be very exciting.
Awesome.
So yeah, let's play a few minutes of this. And then I see Marco is joining us as well. So we'll hop over and see Marco maybe in a few minutes.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Awesome.
So almost there, almost. What do you have? What do you have still to pick? What's coming in soon?
We have Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc from our Vila family vineyard, and the Cabernet Franc from our Outwash vineyard. Yeah, this weekend will be the last. So
Okay, so Richard, and the Silva Vineyards and Winery are located on the Naramata bench, but the special thing here with the Silva is you guys have your estate vineyard, you have a couple vineyards here around on the Naramata bench, but also farming up and down the valley for a few years, I would say.
yeah, correct. Well, we have for a long time, yeah, since we have 3 of our own estate vineyards, but we have 9 other. What's included in that? So we have 6, I guess. We have a new one came online this year, so 6 vineyards that we work with. We've had very long relationship with growers and farmers that they've grown up with, and they've taken over their family properties, and some of these relationships go back generations. So we're very fortunate that way. That's kind of our magic sauce. We always tell people is the ability to have the Okanagan Valley and really kind of really talk about these different unique places and where these grapes should grow. And a year like this year was challenging. I think that really set us up for some success this year. So,
And I think that's what really set the Silva Vineyards apart, is because you've been one of the first, and you've been pounding the tables over the years to be more vineyard specific. Having that relationship with the growers, being able to extract, being able to tell the dirt story. It's a little bit like that's what the Silva is.
yeah, I think it's very important for those that are, looking to come to Okanagan. It may look like this beautiful lakes and vineyards, but within that is a very, 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 kaleidoscope of terroirs and soils, as you know. And I think it's really important for BC as we start moving into really premiumization of our wines that we talk about these areas and what grape varieties are focused there, and to create consistency. The Okanagan is interesting. You can almost grow any variety anywhere, but to be absolutely the best, there is only some special regions where those, and that's what we do. It's about pinpoint precision. That's why we're one of the only wineries I know of in the world that actually geotags each of our bottles to where they're grown, because we want to connect the consumer to the place and why the wine tastes the way it does. So,
Well, speaking about specific grapes, so 2022, was there any specific challenge that you have faced, or something that you can have from the beginning say, okay, we might struggle with this or that this year?
it was a very challenging year to start off. Our footing this year was there was in some of the regions in the northern part of the valley, we had severe cold event, and that kind of really dropped the production for some of the wineries, specifically north of Penticton, Kelowna region. But the spring was really the big tale of the story. Having a very cold, rainy spring until July. The only positive is that, unlike some of my counterparts who are running around trying to control the potential of powdery mildew by spraying, this is where our knowledge came. It's about, it's raining and it's cold. Nothing's going to grow in that. And so we didn't spend any money on any kind of treatments, because nothing was gonna incubate in that kind of environment. It was really quite cold. And so I didn't do our first control applications until July.
Oh, wow.
Which, by then, some people have already spent a third of their budget on that. So that was the one silver lining. But I mean, the story of this vintage for BC is obviously our fall. I mean, if it wasn't for this fall, it would have been a disaster for us, and it ended up being one of the best falls on record. Yeah, actually, it's a record-breaking fall. So yeah, we've been extremely fortunate. In fact, I think that we don't have high bricks, so it won't be high alcohol wines. I find the wines for about 90% of our varieties, great character and great, just great complexity, and I'm really excited to see the final result.
That's funny, because yesterday I was talking to a guy at the research center here in Summerland, and he was saying the same thing. It's the numbers are not all in, but it's shaping up to be one of the record falls in terms of heat unit, and so it literally saved the vintage. What would you say that the star grapes has a potential to be the star grapes of this vintage? That's okay, because let's focus on here around the bench.
Pinot Noir was quite exceptional. I had a fantastic fruit harvest. The harvest was bountiful this year. The numbers were there. Merlot exceptional throughout the whole valley, including the Naramata bench. Merlot is definitely the standout grape variety for us this year, and I think it's going to be the one. The whites is kind of a mixed bag for us. They were solid, but some of the whites were challenging, except for our Chenin Blanc, which we just harvested last week. Fantastic numbers. The acid was zingy. It was like 10 gram TA, almost 11, but the bricks was like 23 bricks. I mean, it was just a perfect.
Wow. Concentration,
everything. So I'm very excited to see that. And the standard variety, even in a challenging year like this year was a Touriga Nacional. It always ripens. In fact, last year was 29 bricks. To those winemakers out there, it's phenomenal. But this year was 25.5 bricks, which was great concentration and just fantastic fruit. And the other standout is Cap Sauv. And I think that's going to be, the capsules are just starting to come down now. 23 bricks, not high, but an elegance and a full maturity, full skin tannin, full seed tannin. The skins are everything it has the right flavors. You just don't have high alcohol, which I think actually plays into the narrative of where we want to go with our wines nowadays anyway. Like, you're just kind of hard. You're going to have to eat either or. Lots of ripeness, which means a lot of alcohol, or, it's very rare. So this is the year that we could actually get that full ripeness without the resulting high alcohol.
So elegance versus power.
Yeah.
Like,
it'll be balanced. It'll be like right down the middle. It'll be a bit of both with a lot of great tannin structure to the wines that are mature tannins. Like the skins, the seeds, it's fantastic. So Syrah, challenging year for Syrah.
because of the cold earlier in the spring.
I don't quite know, but it's been not, it's gotten right, but it's not to the level. Cabernet Franc.
Okay.
Also a bit challenging, but we're now into, November, and we still have green canopy.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's pretty crazy.
And in fact, I'm hanging for another extra week. So I'm thinking, I'm gonna just squeeze as much as I can here, and I think it also may, crossing our fingers, may actually be a winner. We'll see.
I love that. And if you say
So much fun with Richard Da Silva. So much fun.
I could have kept going for another 5 hours.
Well, you did, for a long time.
And
I want to go back to that clip because you end up tasting the 2022.
The babe, 2022. The grape juice was not fermented yet.
The one they just fermented.
Yeah, there was no fermentation just yet. There was just the press, the first press, like
yeah. And then that Chenin Blanc that their wine club members picked last weekend, that he was saying is a standout. We tasted that in the
free run juice. That's what I was looking for. Sorry.
So I want to show you guys that too after. But guess who we have here? We have Marco Piccoli from the brand new Niagara Custom Crush Studio. So let's bring Marco in.
Oh, from one legend to another. Marco, my man, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
I can't complain. It's much earlier here than it is out there. So, are you still pretty busy right now?
Well, that's why, and I apologize. I was a little bit late for the scheduling meeting. I got tied up with some harvest stuff. Came home, tried to get ready, and pour myself a nice glass of wine and get ready for a nice wine talk. Right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I just want to put in perspective here. Marco is the Chief Operating Officer for the brand new Niagara Custom Crush Studio. It's a new concept out of Niagara where virtual winemaker find a permanent home where they can make their wine with or without Marco's supervision. Marco has 25 years of experience, especially with the big brand of Arterra out of Ontario, a load of knowledge, and some of these virtual winemakers are bringing their business to the Niagara Custom Crush Studio and have retail space and also tasting space at the Crush. Former Stony Ridge Winery, who's been purchased by Marco and some business partner. How's the transition is going, Marco, at the Crush?
It's going really well. We are very excited on the new things coming. There is a lot of moving parts, but everything so far, knock on wood, is going the right direction. It's just exciting, right? I mean, you're bringing in this kind of new philosophy, new culture, right? We see a lot of positivism within the industry and other team players within the industry that I believe it will really give a nice boot, a good incubator for the industry and just take it to the next level, right? So far so good. We are very excited. We are trying to put every step together. It's tough when you harvest and comes in a way. And there are a lot of projects we are looking at right now to get started. And I need to say that it's amazing to see the support and the interest that is coming out from the industry 360, not just people within the winemaking industry, but even outside collateral, food industry, and many others, to tell us, encouragement to keep going and take it to the next level.
This is so exciting, that project. I talked to a lot of people here in BC, and people are really excited to see that incubator going on. It was a real need in Niagara. I have to say, I'm following the Crush on social media a lot, and I've seen the beautiful fruits from the Aaron Pond Benchland Vineyard coming in. The Rennie Winery fruits are coming in at the winery, and the fruits looked absolutely spectacular. Tell me a little bit more about the 2022 harvest, Marco.
Well, it didn't start very. I need to start with the not so cool notes. It didn't start very well, obviously, because winter was really tough. It really has been hard on many vines around the region, from the Niagara and the lake all the way to the bench. Cold winter created a massive winter kill, right? So there are some areas where they had 50, 60 percentage of kill, not survival, kill. Some varietals more than others, like Sauvignon Blanc and Merlot, got hit really, really hard. So, but you know what? I need to say one thing. Obviously, it's hard, but it puts a testament on the grit and the strength of the grape growers in Ontario. That is not the first time that this happens around here. I arrived in this industry in 2004. 2005 was a really hard winter, and we can go on and call them many. I need to say that the industry is strong into reacting to these events, not just how to find a solution really together, but from a viticultural point of view, to react, get up on your feet right away and keep going. And I can keep going with examples. Obviously, some of theirs got hit not just for this year. Some could pull some suckers out and get the vineyards up and running for next year. Sometimes we are talking about the replanting, very much needed for some varietals. And that's probably the not so good news about the 2022.
And Marco, like different areas have been affected differently, I believe, right? It's not a global thing. I know, like in general, let's talk about a 50% crop in general, but some area has been affected harder than others, and some have saved, because I'm hearing about on the escarpment on the Heron Pond Benchland Vineyard, where Graham Rainey gets his fruits from. Well, Graham's vineyard, like the vineyard has just been in pretty good health, and there's not a whole lot of loss that year, but some of others, like you mentioned, have lost a deep proportion.
I agree, Carl. Like in all wine regions in the world, like when some kind of bad things happen, unfortunately, it's very spotty. Niagara on the Lake, unfortunately, had to pay the biggest price for it. Unfortunately, the bench is being a little bit more in a better shape. Okay. And speaking of the Aaron Pond area, the Grand Rainy, where right up there in the Beamsville, yes, the vineyard is being kind of untouched, really. There is being zero losses. The fruit was very, very strong. I know that vineyard now for, since 2005, when I started first harvesting those fruit when I was back at Jackson Tricks. It's a nice spot. The bench obviously creates a different microclimate than the Niagara on the Lake, and many others, obviously. Some benefits some benefits from the Niagara on the Lake, some benefits from the bench. Obviously, everything is working into place to define a specific terroir, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be here talking about subpopulations. In specific of the Graham Rennie's estate, the Chardonnay, we brought in some Chardonnay for sparkling. The shape was really good. The acidity is nice. Generally speaking, for 2022 harvest, I should say that whatever came out of it, the quality, I think I'm very fond of it. Pinot Noirs were very solid. Chardonnays, we had the ability at the beginning of the season, really, to play with your ripeness. And I will take just a quick minute to explain what ripeness means to me. I'm not a big. I don't focus too much into bricks. Obviously, it's a very important indicator to understand where your trajectory goes in terms of ripening in the vineyard. Obviously, I really look into when it comes to wines, sparkling basis, for example, acidity, the pH, the flavors. And that's, I believe that this year, especially at the beginning of the season, let's say we could have started picking sparkling the first week of September. We had a lot of time where we could go in and find the right balance. I don't believe there was any rush at the beginning to go in and pick because of weather conditions. Sometimes you have a lot. I would say the disease pressure was kind of normal on other years. I didn't see anything abnormal. I'm talking about the beginning of the season. My conversation will change as we go into October. So that was really strong. The Pinot Noirs as well profiled a very strong phenolic ripeness. Seeds were nice and brown. The tannins were nice and solid, velvety, but really kicking really ripe phenolics. The bricks were just on the average 21, 22, whatever you want to ripe it for, from a sugar perspective. But I believe from that the parameter that the phenolics were very strong, very generous. As we progressed towards the beginning of October, we went to a little bit of a pickle here with some weather challenges. We had a little bit of rain coming through, and put a little bit of pressure on the heads, I should say, to make sure that we're coming in at the right time. Riesling again is a strong varietal here by us in Niagara, as you guys know, and which I really love. Again, another varietal would give us a lot of opportunity as a good window to understand when you want to pick it. You want to pick it for sparkling. You want to leave it for a little bit of an entry level, nice drinking Riesling. You want to keep it a little bit longer to get a little bit more robust and get it to the next stage of ripening and flavors. I believe that we had that flexibility to decide that window. Obviously, not windows are perfect. Obviously, there is always some weather conditions coming in and putting some pressure. But yes, we had some botrytis. I didn't see a lot of botrytis pressure this year. It was more about the sour rot in some spots, but for that token, it was okay. But yes, in beginning mid of October, there were cool nights. You were waking up in the morning, it was really dewy, and that obviously takes a price on the healthiness of your grapes, right? That's so. That put a little bit of pressure to pick the red varietals, the Bordeaux Reds, and whatever Pinot Rieslings were left up there. Generally speaking, I need to say the Cab Franc and Cab Sauv, but majority Cab Franc, impressive color. I go back again to the phenological ripeness of those grapes. Impressive color, strong phenolics, beautiful aromas. Yes, you find the spots where there is a little bit more green than others. Yeah, that's life. But generally speaking, it was a generous year towards reds. Would it be the best year in Niagara? Maybe not that far. But I'm telling you, 2022 will definitely be a vintage for red varietals. I would keep it on the book. And with all just on the side note, I would have been really curious to see. I think it could have been a very interesting harvest, very generous harvest for Sauvignon Blancs. Unfortunately, it's one of my favorite varietals. That's why
I love it too, Marco.
I
Yes.
know. I always take a minute to say, to talk about it. I believe it's a great varietal for the Niagara region. I believe it really expressed a personality intimately connected to the Niagara terroir. It has a personality by itself, for my opinion, within the worldwide Sauvignon Blanc kind of world map from a tasting perspective, obviously. As I said, it broke my heart to see this varietal being hardly hit by the winter in Niagara, because I think that this would have been a vintage that would have put a nice stamp on the quality. Obviously, there's been some Sauvignon Blanc there, so I would say look forward to those wines to come out, because I think the the harvest could deliver a beautiful richness and varietal concentration.
So is it fair to say we see a great vintage in terms of quality, but extremely small in terms of quantity? Basically,
Yes, I would summarize it like this. Extremely, it was yes, yes. It is from a yield perspective.
and Niagara on the Lake much more affected than the escarpment.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, and it's just to explain to our viewer here. At that time, it's almost 10 o'clock there, so we have more people from the West Coast here. Niagara on the Lake versus the escarpment. I think the proximity of the escarpment from Lake Ontario and the airflow. That's what saved a little bit of the escarpment versus Niagara on the Lake, where frost pocket could have been a little bit more present.
Yeah, it's a geographical thing, right? The inclination, the air drainage that you have with the proximity on the lake creates a little bit more flow. Obviously, also in the bench, you have some pockets, right? Then our friends in British Columbia definitely are very familiar with how the landscape is shaping up and where the cold pockets down, and when on that bottom is tabula rasa, no? When it gets very cold, it's kaput. But obviously on the Niagara on the Lake, this kind of geographic conformation doesn't allow for an air drainage and airflow as consistent as it could be on the bench. That's in a nutshell, really that's what it was, right? And then the proximity obviously of the lake, it creates another micro that obviously can help or help or affect in a negative way your winter temperature, right? And
so what do you have? What do you have left?
You got temperature at 22, 23, 24, right? It wasn't that kind of hot night at 21. It got rough. It got rough. So and it was not for one.
Yeah.
Hey, Carl Boucher,
Yes.
Marco, I know it's getting late out where Marco is. Niagara, I know some of our members are saying, I'm going to bed. But out here in the West Coast, we are ready to party. And Melissa from Intersection is ready to join us in a couple minutes from
Oliver, right, on the Golden Mile. But before I finish with Marco, I wanted to know where you're at now with like you're 90% done. Do you have any more fruits coming in? What's
I believe I think the harvest is close to be done. We are done, but I think the industry is just finishing up. It was a tough. It was a in and out. It was those kind of harvests that you start and in a blink of an eye you got to the end and say, okay, we have all in and we got it done. Sometimes it's a good thing in my experience in my life. You never want to leave the fruit out there because you cannot bring it in or the weather is not cooperating. When it's ready, you want to bring it in, get it done. And and that's one thing that I'm really happy work out for our growers here, grape growers in Ontario, because they needed a little bit of at least that kind of help get it finished. So the quality was good. And honestly, I need to say kudos to all our grape growers and wine growers, because you always have to stick handle this kind of mother nature events, obviously, like everywhere in the world. I'm here, so obviously I would like to stick up for what they're doing in the last years. And you know what, Carl, it's not just, it could have been worse. It could have been worse, but because of the know-how and the strength and the expertise of the growers, they could handle and grow the grapes every year to make sure that, when these kind of adverse scenarios happen, the vine is a little bit stronger. It's not abused, it's not weak, and you could have been way more catastrophic if it wouldn't be for what they have done in the years, right? What you do in the vineyards is not something that pays you only next year. What you do in the vineyards is something that's going to pay you years to come, or make it more sustainable for those kind of events, right? So it was a
and
tough.
experience and knowledge of your own land. That's what you acquire year in and year out. Let's bring more data. Let's bring more knowledge. You're learning every year, and
storing up the juices into those vines, just
Yes.
like a human being, right? We're more resilient if we're healthier to begin with. So,
is there any new new news from the crush? Any new prospect is coming in? Like, I'm dying to know who's next. Jeez,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Oh, there is yes, there are a few things in the oven cooking
okay,
there.
great.
As I said, we are very excited. I believe that, as I said earlier, we are perceiving a lot of positive, a lot of brand winemakers and other partners in the industry, and I believe it will be a very interesting 12 months to come. So stay tuned, because there are going to be a lot of good news and very exciting news for all of you guys.
And you know what? Stay tuned for another email. I can't wait to meet with you and Graham and Sarah and Matt and the team soon, because we have a bunch of ideas too. So it's been so great.
For those of you that don't know, Niagara Custom Crush Studio, it's a new project. And I mean, Melissa's coming on from Intersection in a minute. Down in BC, we have the Wine Village. This is something kind of similar but different, where
very different.
It's a group of winemakers under one roof. So community of winemakers under one roof. And we love the concept. Right now you are 2 wineries, right? Rennie Estate.
No, 3 Horseshoes. Oh, Horseshoes is there. Stony Ridge is there. Rennie Wines are there. So there's at least 3 that I know.
And they just opened. And in the next year, you're expecting handful, possibly a dozen, right, Marco?
Yes, we hope to get it, and I think, as I said, there's a lot of positive vibes coming through. So
amazing.
Let's keep them.
Is there any date for breaking ground for the new facility? Any dates on?
We don't have a set date yet, but things are progressing as scheduled, and we're just now working the process through. But so far, we're checking in all the boxes that we were supposed to in our timeline, and I think we're in a good spot.
Amazing.
That's fantastic, Marco. It's great to see you, my friend. I appreciate your time. I can't keep you here until like your wife yells at you, so I'll let you go. I'm in a great mood tonight, my friend. So, but we'll chat very soon. I can't wait to debrief with you, my friend.
So great to see you. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, Marco. You're a rock star, my man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So fun. Well, should we dive right
I love chatting. I love chatting with this guy. He has so much knowledge he's been processing millions of liters of juice every year. This guy, he knows the industry inside out. He's an encyclopedia in terms of the Ontario wine region. So glad to have him in Niagara Custom Crush Studio, one of the coolest projects in North America right now in the making. I had the privilege to spend a week with these guys in September, and follow them on social media. So follow The Crush on Instagram. Sarah has done a great job posting on a daily basis. The project is alive. And if you're in the area, if you're looking for a great cheese selection, one of the best cheese selection in the region. So give them a shout. It's a fantastic concept. So I love this place. I like it. It's a very special place.
Very special. And speaking of another special place that we love, every time we go down to Intersection, if Melissa's around, she gives us some kind of sneak peek of what's coming, something in the tank, something from the library. It's very exciting to visit there. And so we have Melissa Schmidt from Intersection.
Hey.
Bring it on. There you go. Here you are. How's it going, Mel?
Yeah, doing great.
Yeah? I can see something cloudy here in your glass. There's maybe something fermenting, like Viognier or
yeah. So it's Riesling from the tank, which is nice.
Riesling.
yeah.
So
a little bit late to start, as you guys know. But yeah, it's all finished now, so it's just chilling.
That's fantastic. So have you been? How's 2022 harvest, and especially the fall of treating you down south of the Okanagan?
Yeah, huge. Just like the biggest vintage I think I've ever seen here.
That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's amazing. Okay, let me recap here. Give me 1 second. We're going to put our listener into perspective. We still have a bunch of people from back east listening. So Melissa, she's the winemaker. She's the viticulturalist at Intersection Winery. They're located in Oliver, BC, on the Golden, just on the Golden Mile, the Golden Slope. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But so down in Oliver, in Canada's only desert. So now we've talked to people from Nova Scotia, Ontario, a few people from the northern part of the valley, and now we're down south. What we're hearing from into our region, that 2022 was a very rough start, cold, rainy, but things shift. So Melissa, give us your perspective from the Oliver, the national capital of wine. How's everything unfold for the 2022?
Yeah, we got lucky with the September we had. That's the main part of it. Like, as you said, late to start, rainy, cold until like, middle of June, late June. Usually we don't see that. It's kind of nice to have like a lighter fire pressure year, but yeah. So Veraison kicked in late. We're all looking at these red berries not turning red very fast. So you're going, oh, great. Like these are going to hang until, Christmas. But yeah, we got this like nice push of heat in September. So it's kind of shaping up a lot like 2011 was. So yeah. And also like, I couldn't believe how much fruit we got in. It's common to the area now. I think everybody's just like over tonnage. So we're all running out of tank space. That means that we're making more Merlot, which I think usually people like. So
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Speaking of tonnage and sometimes having enough wine and sometimes not having enough. Daryl's asking, when are wine club signups available again? I don't know if this is something
Tony, where's Tony? Where's Tony when we need him? Right?
He worked during the day. I'm on night shift. So
yeah,
I might refer you to either the info at Xline account or our site for that info.
Yeah, we'll check it out.
I'm not.
You know what? I'm gonna send an email introduction between Daryl and Tony tomorrow. How about I do that? Daryl, I got you covered, my man. Daryl is out in Ontario, big fan of what you guys are doing. So
yeah, great.
So the falls, like I was talking with Rob Amersley at Black Market in Khalid, and he said, yeah, like now I'm running out of space. I'm using my bathtub, for God's sake, for juice. Like it's like I don't have any tank available. I don't have bins. I can't find bins. He literally doubled his production this year compared to last year. Yeah. And like that's like I'm up and down the valley all summer talking to people, always taking the pulse of each and every region, and it was across the board during the summer. Like we're late, we're 3 weeks behind, we're 2.5 weeks behind. It was the narrative all summer long. And when we hit September, it was like, wow, this is beautiful. If it can keeps going, things can keep going. And guess what? We got it. And I was talking to the people at the Summerland Research Center yesterday, and they said on record, September and October, there's like it's some of the, if not the best 2-month stretch of the fall on record.
Oh yeah. Usually we'd get a frost somewhere in the middle of October. Which makes hosing down winery equipment and crush equipment out there kind of miserable. So it was kind of nice for it to feel a little bit like just the tail end of summer for the entirety of our harvest. But yeah, like I'm going to start pressing Merlot probably next week. And if I can, I might just like help out some other people that need some tonnage space because, as I said, all the red fermenters are full. We were talking about like the guy that doubled his production, like our VO was double what usually it would be. Like our whole tonnage was about 30% more than we'd get. So yeah, it was huge. And it's just like a ton of hours. I've been lucky to have like a good team, and I actually like have been keeping everyone very busy. So now we're scrambling trying to find barrels for all this red that I'm going to be taking off the skins. So yeah. But yeah, no, like that push into the autumn there was perfect. And in terms like at the end of August when they did the growing degree day report, like it was pretty much on par with 2011. So like even a late start, all over heat units seem to be, pretty balanced, I would say. And 2011 is one of my favorite years. So
That's good. That's really really exciting to see shaping up. But if you say, like, you guys are focusing on Merlot, you make Merlots from from the same plot, like two different soil. There's the alluvia, there's the silica. Is there any one of the two that you're saying that this one might be a little bit more rock star than this one, or it's way too early to tell?
It's kind of nice because both those two tend to be pretty controlled for their yield. So it was a little higher on those guys than normal, but not by much. So berry size was nice. Flavor development was good. As usual, they're pretty evenly matched for development because they're all in the same row together. They're all getting the same amount of sunshine. It's just the water that's different. And the heavier side is where we make our milepost from. So on the north side of our property, where it kind of starts to slope down behind that little house, and it kind of holds a little bit more water in that area anyway. Like those berries were a lot bigger. That's where we got a lot of our like major tonnage out of Merlot. So if anything, it means that like we're going to have a lot more milepost and maybe a little bit more rosé than usual. So yeah, everybody's been clamoring for me to make more. So yeah. So
well, Mira and I remember to taste the rosé in tank with you earlier, very early in the spring. So yes, please, more of that. We love it. Yeah. In terms of bricks, how's the bricks? How's your brick looks like in the silica and alluvia plot?
Pretty good. Like, I mean, so again, Merlot's pretty reliable. So silica and alluvia were pretty much where I would expect it to be, like pretty similar levels to 2016. So it was in the 24.5 like mark for a lot of those. Riesling, it was like nothing changed. It was like same tonnage as always, same
consistency.
Kind of it's really like it doesn't mind if it's cold or wet. It's always going to be pretty similar.
Clockwork.
Viognier, it was a little light to begin with, and then when we got that extra bit of time, it really gave it a push. So that was good. And if anything, like texturally, it's just going to have a little bit more of a leaner acidity, and we kind of condition these things in barrel. So that's where we build a lot of the body. And in years like this, where it's a little challenging, or the years where we flooded, that's been my approach, is just like do some more winemaking, give it some more time on the lees. I got a new punch in this year. You guys should come see it.
Oh,
I'm very excited.
You know what?
Yeah. I do it with a new oak, right? So like having a little bit of new oak entering the program now, and on a year where like I can blend it in and it won't be super aggressive, because I have a lot of volume, then it's actually kind of a nice opportunity. And a new punch-in is always a nice thing to have. So
that's a nice new shiny toy. That's for sure. We're ready, Mira. We're due for a drive down south.
Yes, I would.
We're really due for a drive down south. And Melissa, if we talk about a rock star grape this year from the south of the Okanagan, I've been asking that to all of our people from all over the country. I have heard about l'Acadie Blanc has been really stars out of Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing Rieslings out of Ontario, Cap Franc out of Ontario this year. But like you listen to our other people, Ontario has been smashed by the frost, by cold damage, winter damage. Like some of Siouan lost 65% of her crop compared to last year. Wow. So these are huge. And we see on average in Ontario a decline of at least 50%. And all the way down to 80% lost because of the terrible frost over the winter. But there's still star grapes here and there, like still great potential. What's your assessment of the most, like the grape will give you the most potential this year?
On our site, like definitely the Riesling is going to be the star, just because. Of course it is. I love it. I do think that the milepost vintage is going to come out nice. If it's a little bit big, it just means more milepost, mostly because it's been stable. Walking the rows, flavors were good. They were there. VO is going to be a little bit more on the fragrant side, like leaner. It's not going to be the big, like round peachy kind of ones that we got in the hotter years. It's just going to be a little different. So all of our varieties, though, tend to adapt pretty well to fluctuations, is what I've seen so far. But I think Riesling's going to kind of have the leading edge there. Yeah, it likes acidity, so it's a good year for acidity.
And if you look outside of your growers, because you guys bring a little bit of fruits for your Axiom, so Cab Sauv, Cab Franc, what do you see around and talking with your peers in Oliver or Soyuz? Is there any grape varietal who stands out in particular?
So from what I've been looking around at, I think Cab Franc is going to outshine Cab Sauv a bit more this year. Like there's a lot of Cab Sauv that's looking really nice, but the Franc is just like it's there. It's like ready. It kind of likes this season too, right? So yeah, I've tasted some really nice ones just off the vine. As everyone is waiting to clear out some tank space, I'm going around and saying, "Hey guys, you got any cabs? I'll make some room." But yeah, no, it's cool. Like we have the advantage of a nice like warmer summer. So even in marginal years, even Cab Sauv will come along, but it might just need a little bit more technique, and that's all. We just need to be attentive. So yeah.
Are we talking more elegance or power?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be on the like more elegant side. Like people like big beefy reds, but it's not always what the Valley has to offer. Like, if everyone's talking about terroir, like stresses and crazy years make up part of that, and years where you're challenged as a winemaker, it's kind of part of the expression, and what you decide to do is going to make that wine better or worse. So it helps us draw on like some of our background a little bit more, because we've definitely seen. I mean, I've seen a lot of colder regions, and it's just. You just got to kind of dig back through your memories and go, hey, what did we do then to get this result? And, what not to do as well. Like, how to treat solids management and, temperatures of ferments and all that. Like, you kind of got to be a bit more finessed with it. So the wine's going to be a little bit more carefully handled, I think. Because, in a hot year, sometimes it just like turns into this big, massive red without too much input, I would say, but this time it might need like a little bit more actual like tweaking somehow, right? So yeah.
I'm with you. I'm hearing like elegance, but defined flavors, because the flavor are really explosive, but it doesn't like nothing will be like too big, and so it's shaping up to be a very interesting vintage, and obviously. For a couple crops, like 2 or 3 years in a row, where the quantity were low, now everyone has a bountiful crop. So I'm talking with a lot of happy winemaker, right? And a lot of happy owner. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So like I guess sort of adding on to that, it might just mean that we have to be a bit patient with the aging too in the bottle once they're all done. So. I would say like give these ones some time as well, because they might take a little time to calm down tannin wise. But yeah, like that's one of the Merlots I want to press, and I'm not mad about the color, like and the flavor and the fruit that's there. So awesome. I think that we're in a good position, and I think a lot of people around me are too. It's just like we're all going around saying, where did all this fruit come from? I need more tanks. I loaned somebody picking bins, and I'm like, I need those back, please.
I think you need to send some of it to Niagara, because they had the opposite problem. So
how does that work for VQA?
And that's funny because I was talking with Jorgi Stutz at Domaine des Grands Prix in Nova Scotia, and Jorgi's like he had a beautiful spring, beautiful early summer. The bud breaks were early, and shit hit the fan in September. Complete opposite of what we've experienced here. So it's
crazy. We have such a large country, and so much diversity, in what people experience and what the grapes do and what we can grow. It's amazing. I mean, we just were talking about everything from Cab Sauv to Riesling to Chenin Blanc in an earlier conversation, and there's so many great varietals out here.
Yeah, I think it's like important to not force these things to be what they aren't. So, it's if we just kind of like get out of its way a bit and just respond to the season. Like if we had gotten that frost in October, I still would have made the wine. I would have had to do a lot more, but The aim is to make the best thing possible. So, you use the skills you got for it. And sometimes you just don't get the right year, but you've got to kind of cope with it because you spent all that time and all that effort and the whole season and everybody's work to go towards it. So, just it's like that end respectful gesture, right, to the vineyard.
And if you're like me, I kind of like all the styles of wine. So even if it's more elegant or if it's more powerful, I'm totally happy either way. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. So I think it's nice because we get to see the variation, and that's why we do the library stuff usually in the winter. I might start that as soon as we're all pressed off and everything's tucked away in barrel. I might start digging around in the back vintages and saying, oh, I'm going to look at some of the cooler years for some reference anyway. So yeah.
Every bottle is a book, is a different book, right? You just need to open these books and review what's in this encyclopedia that you have in the library. It's so true. We have a member who said, he's funny. He said he's buying cases of books because every wine is a book.
Right. And then he goes to the library very often, right? So.
Hey, Melissa, if like we always do, I always write rank and rate stuff on a scale of 100 all the time. I do that with all of the wine. I think it gives people a perspective. I want to rate that vintage in every single region here in the country. If you have to give it a score on a scale of 100, 95 to 100 is the real classic, some of the best vintage ever. 90 to 95, it's a very good vintage with good potential, or 85 to 90, maybe below average. How would you rate that vintage? I know it's early. I know it's very early, but is it possible for you to give me an approximate or something, an intuition of what you think of that 2022?
Yeah. So when Suzanne was talking about that vintage, that they were having out in Niagara, I was kind of thinking about this question. I was going, I'm in the 90 region, really. The potential, though, is as you said, yet to come. I don't think it's an indictable vintage. I wouldn't say it's below 90. I don't think it's a poor quality year by any means. But yeah, it kind of depends on how you define a good quality vintage or a not quality vintage, right? So if I like a cool climate style, then this is the year that I might rate higher. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's a good point.
I'm in the early 90s for that, and I tend not to grade it on extremes anyway. So I'm not approaching higher ends or lower ends anyway. So yeah.
Well, because you're doing a great job year in and year out, and you always brings out some fantastic wine. And Intersection has always been one of our members' favorites. Melissa, is there anything new that you can hint to us? Say, this might going to be a cool release in the spring. You look out for something.
Okay. So spring. Well, I know that once we get into next year, rosé is going to be ready to bottle. My little project from last year may be finished.
Okay.
So I don't know if I told you about this. I need more of it this year. Something
with bubbles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that conversation.
If you're around sometime in between now and March, I can show you the process that we did, because we did all the tirage by hand here.
Yeah.
And this year, because we had such a leaner, more acidic driven year, I've decided to make more, which might need a little bit more professional bottling line tirage. But so it kind of depends on where it's at flavor wise. So I'm hoping for a spring release. I'm just going to give it the time it needs. Probably going to have a new milepost out next year around that time. Kind of depends on how quickly we run through this 2020 we've got. So yeah, that's going to be coming out around the holidays. We might dig into some of the fun stuff we've got sitting in the back. And that's going to be, we'll talk about those things too. But yeah,
cool.
in the red area. So. Yeah.
In the heavier red area.
Yeah. So that's exciting. At the moment, I'm kind of just more in production mode. So I'm not really thinking about bottling. It's weird. I am thinking about pruning. It's just as soon as the vines have no fruit on them, I start looking at them going, here's where I'm going to be cutting. Yeah. So it's
farmers first. Then that's who you are. Always the farm first, and we'll figure it out the rest after, right?
Yeah.
That's where
it's
it
strange.
starts.
It's like I don't even think about, oh, maybe I'll take time off. It's like, no, I just want to get out there with my shoes and get going.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Mira,
great.
anything else for Mel?
No, I do have evening red work to get to. So
Oh
There you
shoot,
go.
you're literally doing the night shift. Okay.
oh yeah, no. So like all day I've had two people prepping barrels and doing like all the morning pump overs and punch downs and stuff. So because we have
Wow.
such a full cellar, it's like you know, it starts at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock and then it doesn't end till like midnight sometimes. So
Oh
a
wow.
little bit of overlap in the middle, and yeah.
Fantastic.
I
But
guess that's
yeah,
one of the
big year.
repercussions. Yeah, I didn't even think of. Like, it's not
Yeah.
just the space, but it's also the amount of work.
Yeah, just more
Yeah.
time. Like it takes a lot more time and a lot more hands. So yeah,
Wow.
but I'm excited. I get to move around some stuff and check in on some of these things as they've been progressing, because like I look at them every day, but there's always a change. So yeah,
Amazing.
Pretty
Well, thank you
neat.
so much. That is so much fun. I know some of our members are eagerly anticipating your new wine club that's launching soon. Since the current one, we checked the website and it is on hold at the moment as you guys redo things.
Right.
So that's exciting, and we're just so thrilled to learn more about all these great new 2022s as they
Yeah.
progress. So thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. No, we'll keep you guys updated. I think it's exciting to me. Like harvest is always like it's a time I like, right? You know, you get really busy, you work crazy hours, but it gives you like this really nice feedback for about 4 weeks, and then your body goes, "Stop! We need to take a break."
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
some time off.
Yeah,
after,
exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like it's exciting. There's a lot going on. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, thank you for taking time.
Thanks for spending some time with us, Melissa. I really enjoy my time with you, like as usual. And we'll shoot you a text, send you a note, and we'll go visit in the next week or so.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Awesome.
Amazing.
Take care.
Thanks
Yeah,
again,
cheers, guys.
Have a
Cheers
great
to
night.
Harvest 2022, Oliver
Harvest
BC
2022.
Intersection Wineries.
Woo!
Thank you.
That was awesome. So
There
great
you
to chat
go.
with Mel.
That was a pretty good tour from coast to coast. We just missed Vancouver Island. I thought I had lined up something with Vancouver Island, but something it fell through last minute. So sorry about that. I dropped the ball, but it was a pretty cool tour from around the country. A very good overview of our 2022 part number. We still have one interview that we have not played, and this one is a little longer though, so I don't
Yeah,
know.
so first, before we go there, I want to say a couple quick things, okay? So back when we were at De Silva, look what we got to do. Picked on Saturday.
Oh, smell that. 48 hours.
48 hours ago?
I mean, I've got excited there.
I can smell the skin, yeah. The skin and the pit.
Oh my God,
Wow,
that's so nice.
Well, there's a certain florality in there.
So we're going to be converting a bunch of this here, the Riesling, out to more Saint Blanc.
So that's the Chenin Blanc. That's the wine club members picked that, right? On Saturday? Yeah.
And it's like seaweed, but
It's peach with a straight line of acid in the middle.
It's so fascinating how you can get a sense of what the wine is going to be like, but it's not wine yet. Like that wasn't even fermented yet. They just
No, it's just straight juice. It's straight juice.
Really cool.
Yeah,
So-
it's fantastic.
and then I wanna
that's
say-
going to be that I can tell. I'll tell you right now. The Silva Chenin Blanc 2022 is going to be an absolute bomb.
Amazing. And that's one of my favorite wines they do. So that's great. So yeah, we were at Black Market last year for Harvest, picking their Pinot Blanc. This year, you went there and helped them crush the Chardonnay. And
New
so
project, first time ever Chardonnay at Black Market Wine Company.
That's right. And so here we have Rob Hammersley from Black Market.
There you go. And now we are with our friend, the man, the myth, the legend, Rob Hammersley at Black Market Wine Company. How's it going, Rob?
Good. How are you?
You must, but I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I know I'm not as busy as you are. Because I saw your crush pad a couple of days ago, and it's busy in there. There's no room. There's no room anywhere. There's a lot of tank and everything.
It's pretty full. We are actually at full capacity right now. Every except for some small, sort of less than 1,000-liter tanks, every tank and fermentation bin is full, which is fantastic. We've had a pretty bountiful harvest this year in terms of our own fruit and growers we work with. So it's been a busy few weeks.
A busy few weeks. So Rob, you're located in Killeen. For our listener, Killeen is not usually the place, the wine, the sovereign region that you hear the most. So for people out east, can you localize? Can you explain where Killeen is?
Yeah, Killeen is pretty much right in the middle of the Okanagan Valley. We're about 5 minutes south of Penticton, and Penticton straddles the two big lakes in the valley. There's Okanagan Lake, which goes from Penticton north all the way up past Vernon, and then there's Skaha Lake, which lies between Penticton and Okanagan Falls. So quite a few people are more familiar with Okanagan Falls, but we're right in between those two places, and we're located up on a bench overlooking Skaha Lake on the west side of the valley, west side of the lake. So it's a pretty cool spot. Not a lot of people know about it yet, but trust me, people will know Killeen in a few years.
Oh, and like more like from where we start when we started to do stuff with you, you and Skaha Vineyard operating, and in Killeen now new wineries are popping up around you. So yes, absolutely, people are more and more noticing the well, not only the potential, because there's been great vineyards in Killeen for years, but now just for wine lovers, people start noticing the caliber of Killeen. So what would you say is the rock star grape in Killeen? Like what Killeen should be known for?
I'm not necessarily a proponent of a region being known for a single varietal. If only a single varietal thrives in a location, then that makes sense to me. But like much of the Okanagan Valley, there are a lot of different varietals that do well in quite a few places around here. So because of our aspect, we are an east-facing aspect generally. There's some hills here that can give you different aspects, but we're predominantly facing east. So I would say for your typical grapes you would see here, think whites like Chardonnay, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris, Bacchus that we have. Things that like morning sun and not that really hot, intense afternoon sun. And having said that, though, we also have Merlot planted in our vineyard, which is on a bit more of a western aspect of our property here. And that does great. There's a few wineries that are growing Merlot and making Merlot from grapes in Killeen, and they're pretty stunning.
Yeah, and we'll go back to bricks and the great stuff from Merlot in Killeen in a few minutes. So let's get in the thick of it, okay? Harvest 2022. Let's be honest here. It didn't start all roses and violin and nice song, and everyone were like, "Oh, it's gonna be amazing this year." So take us into your the whole season, please.
So with a couple tough years right behind us, I'm generally a pretty optimistic person, but I was a bit pessimistic going into the season, given that we've had a couple of really challenging years throughout the valley. And then, Mother Nature's got a few sides to her personality, and we didn't see her best side early on in the year. Going even before the spring, everyone's talking about the cool, wet spring, and of course that's an issue. But even before that, we had some significant cold weather over the winter period, and although our site wasn't too significantly affected, there were a lot of places, maybe a little further north in the valley, that were significantly hit by bud damage due to cold weather. So even before we start the growing season, we're already kind of dealing the first blow from Mother Nature. we did some bud sampling over the winter, and as we were doing our pruning, making our decisions on how much or how extreme to prune, we did some sampling to see what the extent of the damage was, and it wasn't significant in most of our vineyard, I would say. So I think we were relatively fortunate compared to some other sites, but we did have some buds affected by that freezing, those cold freezing temperatures. So that was before the growing season even started.
That was step number one.
Yeah.
Step number two, it was the cold and wet spring and early. Like now, we're not only talking spring, because in my book, June like mid-June is not the spring anymore. So
No, yeah, it was cold, unseasonably cold, and unseasonably wet, I would say. We had a fair bit of moisture, going right back to last fall with that atmospheric river that came through much of Western Canada. The good side of that is there was a fair amount of water already in the soils from that fall rain and the winter snow. And then the spring rain. So the vineyards actually got off to a good start from a moisture perspective, but the grapes, the vines themselves, the buds, they need warm weather to come out. And we were probably 2.5 to 3 weeks late in terms of bud break at our site. I've heard some sites were as long as 4 weeks late. Others were not that far off normal. Like I said, that sort of stuff is really site specific. But generally, I would say we're probably 2 to 3 weeks behind normal.
when things start to turn around, so like was it more like late June? Was it more early July? When you start, because like that was pretty pessimistic for a while. Like oh my God, are we gonna ever be able to come back to catch up and get back into a potential half decent vintage? So when things in your mind started to turn around?
Mid-July. Yeah, that sort of into the second week of July, we started to see some pretty decent weather, a return to more normal type of temperatures you would expect for our sort of desert-like climate here. Hot days, cooler nights. So things really started to pick up, and we didn't have a whole lot of moisture over the summer as well, which is nice as you're growing, especially given the fact that we had a fairly decent start in terms of the moisture in the soil that kicked off the year. But it was definitely into July before we started to see things really pick up. But that was at the point where a lot of growers were looking and trying to figure out what the rest of the growing season was going to look like in terms of duration, in terms of heat units, growing degree days, and then making some decisions about yield levels and how much crop they want to carry on their vines. I can't tell you how many days and hours I spent thinking about, are we going to actually do a green harvest this year? I don't know if you noticed, but we typically don't have to drop fruit at our vineyard. Our vines are well, most of our vines, the Merlot.
Yeah, they're completely unbalanced on what they produce and what you need. Like basically, the quality of your full crop that gives you exactly what you need.
Yeah, and part of that is the age. Our vines are 36 years old this year, so the roots are quite deep. They're not quite as sensitive to intra-year or inter-year variations in terms of moisture and weather. And we typically don't see very high yields from these old vines. So, the question I was faced with, well, if we get less than 3 tons an acre for our Merlot, do I really need to drop fruit this year? And I was still asking myself that question first week of September as we were just kind of completing Veraison, which was very, very late for a late, well, Merlot's not exactly a late ripening red, but for a red that you need some serious hang time on to build flavors and sugars and that sort of stuff. So we decided not to drop any fruit. That was a bit of a gamble. I think the safe bet would have been, a lot of growers would have done this, is reduce the crop level from a normal yield and give those grapes a better chance of ripening. But I just looked at the age of our vines, and the typical yields that we would get would be considered quite a bit lower than what a typical yield would be. And I just thought, these little guys, they're going to come through for me, and they did beautifully.
And Mother Nature was completely 100% on board with that thought process, because I think it's the most heat unit we had on record for a September and October. So, but I'm talking about in general in the valley. I'm not sure about specifically on your side, but come on, you haven't seen a fall like that in a very long time.
It was the savior of the vintage, to be honest with you. Without that extended heat and sunshine right into the middle of October, I don't think that you would be seeing the level of fruit and the quality of fruit that is coming in the crush pad.
So that has been a really common theme, hey, Carl Boucher, with Harvest 2022 in BC.
Absolutely.
What an interesting set of results across the country, hey?
Well, Mira, the thing is, to me, it strikes me is all summer long, we went up and down the valley. We talked with so many countless people all summer long, and people, they was worried. It was like people were not like they were like that. They were worried like all summer long because the numbers were so behind. The spring and the early summer was so cold and so rainy. And I even heard like we need a miracle to save this harvest. Like that
like doom and gloom, and then it became one of the best bumper crops that they've seen in a long time. So
it's crazy. It's crazy now. And like to me, to seeing the fall save the harvest, it's not the first time that happened because like Richard is saying, right? Like a vintage is basically made in the fall. That's where the biggest impact is. But to see this amount of grapes available, that bumper crop, that's the cool thing for BC. And so yeah, it was just it's so cool to hear like that commenting from all over the valley. Obviously, north in Kelowna, there's that shortage of fruit because of that very cold winter damage in the northern part of the valley. But for the rest, geez, that we are blessed, and also especially that we've coming up couple of very small crops. So now it's very welcome for especially small producers like Rob. How cool it is for this guy to have double the production this year. How cool is that for his bank account?
Well, yeah, and just the fact that like they sold out of some of their wines really early. Most of them are sold out now, so it's nice for wine lovers that will have a little bit more access next year. And sounds like the quality is going to be great. So hey, let's do our last draw of the night, and then let's get to sleep or something because it's getting late even here in BC. It's almost 8:00. So
we sure need to get the kids a little bit of interaction here. So yes, it's been a great. It's our first experience as a vintage reporter. I tell you one thing. Well, might modify the format a bit, but it's going to be a yearly thing. I enjoy too much sharing these informations with our wine lovers. I think it is very important. It's information that people truly enjoy knowing about, and I am so thrilled. And I'm so glad that our winemakers are so generous of their time and willing to come out and share their worries, share their wins, share their gratitude with us. So it's just pretty freaking awesome.
Totally, it's amazing. So
spin the wheel.
Let's do our last draw of the night. This is for a free pass to the upcoming Canadian Wine Challenge, which is the funnest way to learn about Canadian wine without feeling like you're taking a course. And so we'll lead you through all the different wine regions, all the things we wish we knew before we started on this crazy adventure with Carl's Wine Club 2.5 years ago about each region. And you'll get to earn prizes. You'll earn points and be able to redeem them for prizes. So the wine challenge, the regular price will be $65 for a membership that takes you all the way till April 30th of next year. And that's when you can earn and redeem points until. And so let's see who wins the free pass. Oh, it's a close one. Elaine. Elaine
There you
Bruce.
go. Elaine works at Between the Line in Niagara. She's a winery worker. So pretty awesome.
I think she's
El-
retired, but she hangs out at the winery, and you can visit her at Between the Lines. And
Maybe
and
we
works
should have some people at Between the Lines for an interview for
yeah,
the NAG for one of our Ontario challenge.
totally. Well, maybe we should visit Between the Lines soon and taste their wines, because we haven't done that yet. So
Absolutely.
congrats, Elaine. I'll be in touch with you. And I think it was Diane Butler who won earlier for the different prize we drew earlier. So yes, thank you guys all so much for hanging out with us tonight, learning about everything there is to know about Canada's harvest this year and what we might expect from these wines.
Special thank you to our children. No, I'm just joking. So special thank you to Marco Piccoli at the Niagara Custom Crush Studio, to York Stutz at
Domaine de Campré.
at Domaine de Grand Prix, Melissa Smith at Intersection, Rob Amersley at Black Market Wine Company, Richard De Silva at De Silva Vineyard, Sue Ann Staff at Sue Ann Staff Winery. Who else? Did I miss someone?
Melissa Mouchadre.
Melissa Mouchadre at Mouchadre Vineyards. Yeah, thank you all for your times and knowledge and generosity, because we are thrilled to be working with all of you. So Mira Boucher, special thank you to you for being my sidekick all night long and all of this time. So
well, it's been fun. All my wines are consumed now, pretty much. So I think it's time for a snack, and let's get to bed.
There you go.
Getting late all across Canada. So thanks again, wine lovers, for stopping by. Hope you have a great night.
Canadian wine lovers, Carl's Wine Club members, see you next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.